Welcome, everyone, to the FATED Connections Path of Exile Community Podcast, episode number 111. We're really close to the league start of 322 Trial of the Ancestors. And of course, we didn't want to skimp out and do a review episode on everything that we've seen on the patch notes and the teasers and our opinions, of course, our starters. And for that, we got our lovely co-host Balor Mage here. Welcome, Balor. How are you doing?
Well, hello. Doing fantastic. Too much to do in the week lead up, but otherwise fine.
And then we got, of course, the YouTuber extraordinaire Sirgog, who does the coverage of the teasers every season with passion and dedication. And welcome, Sirgog. How are you doing?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Brilliant. I'm happy that you're here to join us and share your wealth of knowledge about these things. And we should go right into it in a second. We're also supposed to be joined by another person, but I think that will happen later down the road. We're waiting a little bit. How are you on this fine evening? Have you already prepared everything for the league? Are you set to go if the league were to start now?
First of all, evening.
Yeah,
right.
Sorry, here for both of us.
It is early morning. If you don't mind.
And object to this fine stuff. It's freezing in Melbourne and it's rainy.
But otherwise, no, I'm not prepared in any way, shape, or form. I'm not ready at all. I want to make like 45 more videos. I need to get my hair dyed. Too much. There's too much to do. This week's always like that. I never feel like I get everything done. There's always more I want to do. And then tomorrow, all the stress and problems go away and I get to play the game. So, excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly mirrors my experience. It's like this is the crazy period of the league for me. And then it becomes much more relaxed at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning when the league starts. Now that's my local time. Then you sort of get to play for a bit. Then you get to curse at yourself for under-preparing your build because you've been discussing other things instead.
Planning other people's builds.
And then you also, there's always things that show up that you've gotten wrong as well. Like that you'll be like, oh, yeah, there'll be something you've been dismissive of that ends up being one of the best things in the league, or vice versa, something you've been super hyped about that ends up being bad. And that ends up being stressful because you can't get everything right.
That's already happened to me. I was really excited about the new Guardian because of the minions and the like level of auras that were getting handed out. And then I spent like an hour and a half in Path of Building on stream trying to put Guardian over Necromancer into any minion build I could find, and it was never worth it on any build we could come up with.
Not even Absolution?
No. It's better off being a Necromancer. I'm so sad about it. I'm really displeased.
And that's even factoring in the benefits of having haste on your character as an aura, like, the extra move speed and stuff. Yep. The stuff that doesn't show in Path of Building.
Best case, so things like Absolution. Guardian ends up being about 8% more damage. But you lose block cap, and you lose the all res, and you lose the everything from Necromancer, and I still don't weigh that as being worth more. And so now I'm very sad about it.
Hey guys, we also got someone else who's extremely busy with last-minute league practice, who's joining us short notice. Welcome, Crouching Tuna.
Yo.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
You just got that practice one in still.
Yeah,
I was watching like sub 4 hours.
Practice. Yeah, been practicing a bit.
What build were you playing?
I was playing Reign of Arrows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Yeah, I'm a fan.
How old is that?
I think it's really nice early on.
How well does that go when you're going to like scaling up to Exarch and Eater? I haven't looked at it much as a starter.
Well, right now it's kind of insane. So I've done like 8-hour, 15-minute Exarch Eater on a 4-link. And I'm not like a racer. I just
Nice.
try, try to be good. And then it does really well, like honestly.
When you get there, how many Energizer Spheres phases are you looking at on the Eater? Do you get a sense of the damage?
On a 4-link, I had like 4, I would say.
Yeah.
On a 5-link, I had like 3.
That's way better than corrupting fever experience that I had in a private league. Granted, that was I knew that was in for a long run there, but 9 Energize the Spheres was an interesting one.
But
it was 40% monster life as a private league mod.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so you expect that.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Right. Yeah, I originally planned we talk a little bit about PoE 2, but I think we already went over that last podcast. We still want to hear your opinions though. Just as a little intro while other people arrive. We don't want to let people wait too long for the trial of the ancestors stuff. But
has anyone been thinking about PoE 2 the last week? I haven't even. I forgot it was coming out till you just mentioned it.
It does get like that.
That's over a year away.
Yeah,
I've definitely been thinking about it for sure. But I'm just really excited to have a more steady content cycle. First of all, and secondly, a new game to play. Because as much as I love PoE 1, I feel like maybe it's a product of the fact that the meta's been pretty the samey for the past couple of years, but I just really look forward to rediscovering everything again, digging through all the files, figuring shit out, new crafting. It's just going to be a whole new world of PoE-ness.
Yeah, I love the way that they can take a few of the sacred cows of Path of Exile and slaughter them. Things like how the Chaos Orb works. I'm quite interested to see these new Annul Exalt ones in practice. And honestly, this is something I would like to see done as a 1-league experiment in PoE 1. To say, does this work better or worse?
Yeah.
And that would then be something that would affect standard for that period as well, but then would go back to how it is now. And there's also the fact that there's going to be a difference in speed. I think is going to be good. I think early on, it looks like PoE 2 that from all the footage that was put out, people were in dumpster tier gear. So PoE 1 is comparably slow if you're in dumpster tier gear as well. It's just that you don't stay that way for very long. It looks like you stay that way a little bit more in PoE 2. You get upgrades, but you're not sort of getting your in Act 6 in PoE 1, you're getting gear that's good enough to beat, Uber Lab. Whereas that's probably not going to be the case in PoE 2, at least early on, until people consolidate on what the most broken stuff is. And that's just going to mean that the game will have probably a lot of the positives of Ruthless, but without the end game content drought that Ruthless has at the moment.
Definitely. I actually agree with everything you said. Yeah.
I agree with most of that, except one thing. I think I've been doing this a lot too, and I think we need to stop thinking about testing things in PoE 1, because after having played the beta at ExileCon, it's not a different version of PoE. It's not the game we're used to playing. It's a completely different game. There are things that just will not work.
Oh, I'm so hyped. I'm going to get to play it next week because they're here for a Gamescom in Cologne. And it's literally half an hour with the train away. I just ride my bicycle to the train station and I go there and then I get to play that. And 11th hour games there as well for Last Epoch.
Nice.
So, and 2 days before the actual con, Grinding Gear Games already said there's a dinner with Chris and everyone can join. It's in a restaurant and I'm obviously going there as well. I can't see them having enough spots though. They said they reserved a table for 40, but I can't see how that's going to be enough. There's going to be so many people probably.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
PoE Germany seems to be huge. Obviously all my content's English language, but 9.1% of my viewers are German according to YouTube.
Yeah, there's a lot of German people playing PoE for sure.
Yeah.
I
It's the
don't
biggest,
meet any in real life.
You will
the
soon.
biggest demographic outside the United States for me, which sort of surprises me.
I have never looked.
No.
Right. Well, shall we go into the teasers? I think that's a good way to start the
There's a
day.
new one people might not know about yet that are watching this.
Well, we could go backwards through the teasers. That also works. We'll go with the new one first because I guess that's what everyone's been waiting to see. Let me bring that one up here.
It's not the most exciting one, unfortunately.
So we got Tawa Nuku's Timing Moonstone Ring. Well, some stats, but most notably, spells cause you to gain energy shield equal to their upfront cost every 5th time you pay it. This seems to be like a. I mean, I don't know what to make of it. Anyone? It's a low-level requirement. I can't see people use this for very long. It's very niche.
There's one important part about that ring that interests me all of a sudden. That doesn't say mana cost.
Correct. Mana or life or whatever. Or energy shield.
That just says cost. I don't
Right.
know yet because I hadn't seen that until just now. So I don't know yet. But the fact that it's not limited to mana cost is a thing that definitely matters.
Yeah, my gut thoughts when I saw this is that this is going to do two different things, and neither of these are things that existing builds want, but that they're intrinsically powerful so that they might get used. The first one is that if you're playing an Archmage build, this is going to provide you with ES sustain on an Archmage build in huge bursts. Now, do you want that? Existing Archmage builds, no, but existing Archmage builds aren't very good anyway. But it is something that you could play around with. It's just you're going to have to build a bit weird because you're going to have, say, 8,500 mana and then have 2,000 or more energy shield that you're using as a defensive layer in order to get any real benefit out of this, and probably more than 2,000. And then the other thing you can use it with is Corrupting Fever. Just if you've got the energy shield to justify it, but I'm less sold on that.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing it. I think the unique is a little like it's probably like one of those filler uniques I think that they release every so often. But I think, like as you mentioned, it's probably useful maybe in a very niche scenario. But I think it could be cool if it actually works with like Sacrifice, the new Sacrifice gem. But I don't think that counts as a cost. So
No, that's not an upfront cost, I don't think.
yeah. Otherwise,
likewise, Wrathpinth Globe, which is like the unique that was like so much better, like so much more popular last league than it's been before.
yeah, that's true. I don't know. It could be like a nice early on if you're playing like an EB build and you need a little bit of extra sustain, but like I don't know.
Like it's good enough, but I can see a bunch of characters putting it on if they find it on day one while leveling, and maybe that's all it's meant to be.
I don't know.
As a
Like
replacement
a rare
for
ring
Blight.
is so much better.
Maybe there's some like super 5-head use case and like a really unique build that we're just not seeing right now.
But the fact that it doesn't say cost does leave it open to some weird, like that doesn't say mana cost, does leave it open to some like weird shit none of us think of immediately. But
Yeah,
No,
like
I mean,
Corrupting
can't
Cry
think
has a
of that
high
weird thing.
life cost, or a Warcry that's linked. A Warcry that is linked to Corrupting Cry has a high life cost.
True, the Corrupting Cry has 1,000 mana multiplier, right?
And built-in life tap as well, which I missed the first time I read it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it changes the cost from mana into life.
Yeah.
Sorry, anyone that wanted to play that with Chaos Inoculation.
Damn. Yeah, I can't wait. We're gonna have Joseph on at some point during the league, and then he's gonna have to tell us what secret build he plans with this. All right, we're going reverse then, starting at the front and going back in time. Yesterday we got this thing here.
A good one.
The Karui Scepter, Matas teaching, or Matas teaching.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's a +2 to level of all minion skill gems scepter that reads minions base attack critical strike chance is equal to the critical strike chance of your main hand weapon. And that's obviously really cool because with a scepter you can like have anything in your main hand, right? You could use like any crazy one hand unique or craft a caster dagger with a trigger gem, or you know. Do you think this is worth like giving up a shield, or would you use this in your main hand and just utilize the base crit of the scepter, which I mean it's comparably low, right?
Already decent. That's
You think that's good
decent.
enough?
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like 70% more base crit. Yeah,
presuming that rolls up to 50, that'll be a 9% crit weapon.
fair enough.
You're forgetting the harvest enchant as well. 9.42%
Oh, yeah.
rolls up to.
You can also corrupt for an additional 18% crit.
In theory, yes, but this is not going to be cheap
So
enough
what,
to
like
corruption hunt for many people.
9.6 ish, all said and done. If you get a good one.
No, you can get over 10. Even at 42, you can get even at 42, you can get 10.
All right.
And
See,
how
that could
high
be-
could you go if you were to craft like a one hand a dagger with the highest possible main crit?
Orgar is the
11,
highest.
12?
Orgar can get into the
Orgar,
40s
right.
with the harvest enchant and with the corruption implicit. But Orgar doesn't have any synergy with a minion build, and I think that's just being cute rather than being strong.
Right. Yeah. You'd want to use probably a rare so you could still use trigger. Because if you're already giving up a shield, no way you're giving up a trigger, I think.
Or you could use this with a shield and give up the
The
like,
trigger,
you
yeah.
might play probably.
give up the trigger that way. I think
That's what I'm saying. Like either you give up shield or you give up trigger, but in no way you're giving up both.
Yeah.
But what minions want this? That's a question.
Well,
Yeah,
attacking
that's-
minions
that's
for
my
sure. It says
problem.
attack. So like animated weapons, maybe?
I've only been looking at Poison SRS because I just haven't had time to look at other minion builds. And I don't want it on that.
I've heard people talking this up with physical skeleton based builds, either the original skeleton, like even the skeletons as they originally are, or as I think it's Phantasmal, the one that gives you the archers.
Archers, yeah.
Both of them potentially get quite a lot from this. The other thing is that like this obviously competes with a +2 convoking wand. I think the +2 convoking wand is going to be going to be better if you're not in a scaling minion crit. But +2 convoking wands are quite expensive, and GGG don't make things that compete with rares on that level unless the unique is extremely rare. There's going to be Starforge rarity at least, because it competes with, provides the same stats as rares and competes with them on a level that they just don't do on uniques now.
I was just thinking, was I talking out of my ass? Can you even get the trigger craft on a melee weapon? Or is that a strictly wand only?
Yeah, you
I
can
checked
put
this.
it.
You can get it on a scepter.
Not on a dagger though.
Yeah, you can get it on dagger.
Yeah, you can put it on anything.
I was just unsure, and I wanted to make sure that I'm not talking.
Shield's
I'm
no
not
scepter.
spreading misinformation.
Yeah, any weapon is fine.
All right.
Because then at that point you need to have you need to try and find a way to make a +2 weapon that is going to work on your minions. So like if you're Absolution, then that's easily done, but you're not going to use this with Absolution. If you're Skeletons, you need +1/+1 fears. But I think there are minion gems you can't do that with. I think so.
What would it take for like specters to be good again?
Oh, none of this helps.
Really?
Base
What is the
levels.
problem with specters?
They lost so many base levels that the only way they were viable was with the +2 that came from Necromancer. And then Necromancer lost its +2 and they never got it given back.
Yeah, specters are one of those things that unless GG always have to balance around the best case specters, and like specter's going to be one of those things is a balance nightmare forever unless they make it bad. and that's the way they've chosen to do it at the moment. It's either that or they put a huge amount of work into balancing like individual specters and making it so that it functions differently on different monsters.
I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like an anti-fun way to balance it, though. Just make it all bad instead of having like one good one every season or something. Like that's fine, right?
It depends whether it's pulling people to playing it. Whether it's pulling people that aren't interested in minions into playing it. If it's that good, that's problematic. If it's something that people who like minions can make work and can do pretty well with, then that's fine. But it's just so hard to get the sweet spot right on a thing like that's as messy as Spectres. Honestly, Ray Spectre was a mistake as a gem for GGG. I think you see it probably too.
My favorite gem when it was working.
Well, I can imagine that it's like an insane amount of work because every season that they release like all these new monsters, they also have to like enable them as like,
well, they have to. They did in the past. They did disable certain monsters, right? They didn't enable everything to be spectrified. I mean, they try to usually, but well, yeah. But I agree. It's a massive pain, and they shouldn't have done it.
I think it's
also Cases Animate Guardian is another one that's like it with so many design constraints, and Facebreaker is the other one with a huge amount of design constraints. It's like Trauma Support has anti-Facebreaker text on it and has anti-Voidforge text on it.
Oh man, Facebreakers. I looked at a Facebreaker leak start for a friend. It actually looks pretty good. I was thinking about it shortly myself. But let's get on to the next. How does this work? We got some of the equipment for the warriors in the endgame encounters in the Trial of the Ancestors. So there's a lightning rod that says a defender teammates gain a power, frenzy, or endurance charge every second. Then there's one for explodey and one for tailwind. The explode one means like you actually explode on death. It says explode on death, dealing 100% of max life as fire damage. Oh wait, no, that's obviously your warrior that you put that on.
Yep, it can be you as well, can't it? In this,
I don't know. Can you equip these? I'm very unsure with how these things work.
I don't think so.
Don't specify it's a teammate only. Like, I mean, it's only able to be used inside the arena.
Well, the thing says warrior equipment, so I assume it's like heist gear, right?
Yeah,
you only can put it on the league NPCs, basically.
Which is exactly what I wanted. More heist gear. I'm a little tiny bit negative about having to gear them. Remains to be seen if it's a problem, but that's the thing I hate the most about heist is like getting all of the gear for them.
But that's also
good. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, but isn't it also fun to progress and to feel like...
Not even a little bit.
The problem is doing it every league. I feel like
not even a little bit. If they've got like one or two gear options and it's all just unique stuff that drops like relatively often and it becomes like a non-issue where I'm just like picking what they have rather than having to actively go and farm their stuff. Okay, fair enough. I'll put up with it. The rest of the league I'm super excited about, by the way. Just the one bit where I like have to gear them out is just sending me back to like heist triggering moments. I just don't like it at all.
So I'm interpreting these as consumables rather than as enduring items that stay on the ally forever. I'm interpreting these as you use these for one tournament.
Yeah,
and you have a collection
one
of
tournament
them.
or one round or something like that.
Oh, that's so much worse. You made it so much worse.
We're talking Valor out of all of his hype.
They're not there all the time, but when you really need one, you're like, oh, okay, this is the final. Right, the prices are good. We'll throw in all of these things at once.
If they're consumables and I need them, I'll just fail.
Yeah, so they're most likely going to be in your interface. I don't even know if you're going to pick them up or where they're going to be like rewarded after you win a match. But essentially, like you could see that from the trailer, they were like drag and dropping certain things onto certain people, and I feel like it's very likely that they're consumable because otherwise you would just get flooded with them.
Yeah.
But did it seem like something that you do every time you do one of these encounters, or more like, like
Nah, just
occasionally when you really want to make sure that it goes well this time, then you use all these little things that you saved up? Because that's what I hope it is, that it's like something occasionally that we throw in some extra spice, but not something where you have to, every time you want to do one of these little auto battles, have to put on.
I'm thinking of this as more in line with the way that a fairly casual player would use the gilded scarab that drops for them. It's like, oh, okay, this is for something a bit special, rather than someone that's just throwing gilded scarabs and winged scarabs in the map device every map.
I do kind of feel like there will be like lesser rarity of these that are just going to be like you click them on every round for a little bit of extra benefit, but these are probably like I don't know if like I find these particularly interesting because they're just like quirky, but I've yet to see really what impact these are going to have like on the mechanic, obviously. But I do feel like they'll probably throw a bunch of random stuff at us and we'll just click them.
I think we'll outgrow them. We'll just get to the point that we don't need them anymore.
Yeah, that's for sure.
They'll be like dynamite to help with a delve boss, but maybe less clunky.
Maybe there's also going to be some that like influence the rewards a little bit, or
things like that always are like a little bit of a double-edged sword for me. Like mechanics we can outgrow, because I love the idea in theory, but because I'm a no-life degenerate who doesn't leave my seat, if you can outgrow the mechanic, I probably do it on the first day, and that makes it a little sad just for me. And so I always kind of like wish that you couldn't. Like I wish that when I went and did a blight, that my damage, even when I was like giga good, would never be enough.
Well, you can take a keystone to that now.
Just by default. I'm not going to take a keystone to make me suddenly perform poorly. Anti-Viagra pills for Blight, no thanks.
The keystone only works for the blights in your maps, though, not your blighted maps.
Yeah.
Doesn't even work when it matters.
I get it. Like occasionally you get these super annoying, like, on a map that you also rolled really hard, and they get these super annoying 5 or 6 way blights that you basically can't beat unless you're like a super specialized blight build.
Yeah, Blight's really strange in the way that it's aged over time. Like the more that people have gotten experience with the mechanic and learned all of its nuances, the more that it's become much easier on certain maps than others. You have any map that's got limited range of field that it can spread out in, and it's just much easier than an outdoors map.
For sure.
Yeah, which is true for the map encounters, but the opposite is true, I feel, for the blighted maps, where you really want the open ones, right?
Really? No,
I
really
don't
want
know.
hallways.
Are the indoors better and hallways better for blighted maps as well? You think
Give
so?
me a choke point any day.
Yeah, the choke points are great, but like I don't like the towers being blocked off from each other by the walls and all that. But yeah.
I mean, it depends. Like if you're talking about getting started in Blight when you're still doing at least one tower cost reduction on each blighted map from an anoint just to get started, at that point, I think that it's much easier to have them indoors.
I'm still sad about that keystone not affecting blighted maps. I feel like everyone is, because if it did, that would be like, I don't know if it would be good or worth it, but it would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even if I was doing blights and maps, though, I would take the keystone because 700% more damage from towers. You'll just build 2 towers and you just AFK. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
like the numbers make it like pretty insane.
I just feel if you wanted to do blights in maps, expeditions, a similar mechanic and has better rewards.
Yeah, I mean, like blights and maps early on is like one of the most underrated currency makers in the game. I think it's probably like one of the most broken currency makers in the game right now.
You can very, very easily do your headhunter or mage blood farm in the first few days just farming blighted maps, like very easily.
Yeah, blighted maps, but also like blight in maps. Like it's
Yeah, no,
completely
I meant farming blighted maps to sell. That would be my
producing the
preferred
blighted
way.
maps.
yeah, producing blighted maps, and also like oil extractor.
Yep.
You know, you're just
Yeah,
basically like, even if you're in white maps, you can already farm golden oils that way, as long as you have the passive points for it. So, but yeah, essentially, like if you're putting blights in your maps, and you're basically spawning them like very easy early on because of how high of a chance we have to spawn mechanics now. You're basically getting like one blighted map per map, and then a golden oil every like 3 maps. So it's kind of crazy. Maybe not every 3 maps. Maybe that's
Yeah,
but yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's maybe a high estimate, but
Yeah, but like silver oil or golden
like
oil
when I
every
did
like
it-
3 maps. Like it's
Felt
really
like when I
good.
did it, I was getting at least 2 golden oils an hour, like as a minimum,
It's really, really good.
which was, and then like 7 or 8 silvers, and then a collection of other shit, and that was like a minimum. So that was always pretty good.
And silvers are so good with it's sovereignty. That's triple silver now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
Silvers sell well.
Arguably the best anoint for a lot of builds. You know, you've got +1 curse is one of the best. You got triple gold, triple silver are 2 of the best anoints in the game.
Nice.
Okay, maybe I should do a different build now. Maybe I'm changing my build again so I can do blights early on.
But you got expedition though, and expedition has Rog, and Rog is love, Rog is life.
True. I don't think my build is good at expeditions either, though.
Frog gets significantly worse if you don't know how to use them, though. Whereas,
What?
as long as you spec the tree right, you kind of can't fuck up with blighted farming.
Well, you need to know which things to oil extract.
I mean, no, you just need to know how to press like Control D on the item. That's all you need to know.
So for rings, NeverSinks highlights the rings that have a golden or a silver oil in them. So you don't need to worry about rings. But for amulets,
Nice.
if you have Awaken PoE trade, you Control D, and then it tells you it's like teal, silver, gold. And basically what you want to do is anytime you have like 1 gold, or if there's like 2 silvers, then you're probably gonna like want to extract them. And oil extractors, that's mainly gonna be your bottleneck. So another good way to farm these is also to just sell the oil extractors, and people will also snipe certain annoyance. Like people have like live searches with every single annoyance, and they will just like try to snipe them, and you could sell those as well if you don't feel like gambling. But it's always more worth to literally just extract everything.
I can make an argument that it's not worth extracting them.
I was going to say every gamble in Path of Exile is usually not worth doing if other people are doing it and paying, because people always overpay for the gambles.
Well,
The other way around.
Yeah,
The
no,
bigger
every
question
gamble
is-
in PoE is the other way around, to be honest. As long as you hit the medium, like
Okay.
Gambling in PoE is always profitable so long as you don't run out of money before you turn a profit.
Or unless people are, or unless you're competing with people who are doing more with the inputs than you are. For example, regular Maven is a good example of a gamble that by day 12 is a terrible thing, because you're competing with people who are buying the Maven.
I wouldn't call that a gamble.
Service, or they're running Uber Maven. So
but I
you
wouldn't
can't
call that a
exactly.
gamble. I would call that a waste of money. That's not a gamble, because you should be doing Uber because they're the same invite.
You should be doing normal and doing a void stone carry service. That's more
carries,
Uber.
But carries, yeah.
Uber is also option, and maybe you can do Uber and a carry service as well. But yeah, so like you just want to make sure that there's not a better use. There's also a few things that like where the community just gets things wrong. Like the poor fishwives people think that ancient orbs are overrated on the market, overpriced on the market at the moment.
So that's not that's just because some of those things are priced according to how good they are at making content on YouTube rather than how good they are for other people.
That's the case with high variance div cards in general.
Yeah.
If it's going to create an exciting moment. So there's a bunch of things, but like stack decks, for instance, there's the person who's responsible for a lot of the publicly available data as to how rare div cards are. They have made 5 mirrors a league for the last 2 leagues by opening 500,000 stack decks and not picking up anything under 4C. They just leave all of the cards like the Wrath. They leave them on the ground because there's so much profit to be made from stack decks that they don't pick them up. We're trying to get them to also pick up the Wrath specifically because it's a card that you get quite a lot of. Like it's sort of, I think it's something like 0.6% of stack decks or something like that, and that'll help anchor the rarity of cards a lot more.
Fair enough. Well, see, I always learn new things on this podcast. Another teaser that we got a couple of days ago was the reveal of the Sentinels, of the Guardians' new skills that are just obscure minion skills, where it says summons a level 20 Sentinel of Radiance or summon Elemental Relic. So I'm sure we all have very good opinions on that one. Who wants to go first? I did not expect what it was, by the way. I had like a bunch of ideas what it could be, but the relic completely caught me off guard with how it works.
Like I said earlier, I was super excited about it until I spent enough time in Path of Building and realized that it's just not. It's not it.
You're talking narrowly about minion builds here. Do you think that's worth keeping in mind?
Exactly.
Yes, exclusively talking about minion builds.
Like the thing is insane for quiz, right?
Yeah, I think that Elemental Relic guy on his own as a forbidden combo.
Yeah.
Huge.
Gonna be really expensive.
Yeah.
Like 3 auras.
Spark.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be busted for sure. I feel like that thing is gonna be like 100 div for the combo.
Yeah, that's
wouldn't surprise me.
For sure huge, just not doesn't suit minions like you would think like it's supposed to.
Even though they're like level 27 auras?
27.5, yeah.
Yep. With no aura scaling.
So that means that the flat damage on them is pretty good, but the percentage damage, because you don't have the percentage scaling from based on your character stat, the percentage will fall off. So the hatred will be worse than it would be otherwise. Wrath on a spell would be worse than it would be otherwise. But the flat damage is really good.
Mm-hmm.
One thing in general this patch, GGG are giving a lot more ways to scale flat damage on spells. Like they've got Spellblade support, and there's a whole bunch of things that do that may actually in some cases compete with gem level scaling. I mean, Elemental Relic doesn't really compete with gem level scaling. It just works with it.
It just complements, yeah.
There's so many ways to get gem levels these days, though, in comparison to... I remember when you used to stack flat damage. It was like a big thing, right? Oh, you're stacking flat damage, like Abyss Jewels, stuff like that. But then they gave us like all these global gem modifiers. And I don't know. It's going to be like hard since every single spell gem has like quadratic scaling. To beat that, like almost every build I've tried Spellblade on just doesn't. It's not like really worth it over a more multiplier because you get so many gem levels. You just want to, multiply that flat that you already gain.
We've like explicitly a lot of us have tested a whole bunch Battle Mage hoping to make it work, and while you can make Battle Mage work, and while using it isn't horrible, if you just drop it and put on a real spell weapon, it always ends up better. Even though you might be able to make the build work and be like, look, Battle Mage is working really well. But if you really just pull the build apart and have a look at it, and you just swap Battle Mage for something else and put a real weapon on, it's always better. This support, that support is the same as Battle Mage. Like it's a larger number, but you're giving up a support. If it doesn't work for Battle Mage, it's not worth it here either.
One thing to note though is that it's hard to get Battle Mage on Ascendancies, which otherwise wouldn't be able to get it, right? Like sure you can get it on certain uniques, but for example, like I think Spellblade is going to be absolutely insane for like Ignite Elementalist, because there you're able to just go for like crazy triad type of swords, and the flat damage you get from that is just going to exceed any sort of gem levels that you'll be able to get.
I don't think you go tri-alley. I think you go bi-alley and then have your other prefix potentially even be 5%. But at least you experiment with that. You got a bunch of
I haven't like POB'd it, but essentially I think you can get like pretty high numbers doing something like that.
Spellblade's numbers are very high. Like, if you're looking at this, like, this is going to be one of those gems that is going to be absolutely god tier through the campaign, at least if you've got any sort of relevant weapons, but then is going to fall off a bit later.
Yeah.
Kind of like if you had added cold damage support. If added cold damage support's numbers were doubled, it would be S tier through the campaign, and then at endgame it would fall off on spellcasters. It would still be fine, but for a while, but it would fall off. It'd be like that.
Like, for example, it's pretty good on impending doom early. But yeah, then it just kind of falls off later on. It's one of those things.
Well, impending doom doesn't have gem level options, does it?
Yeah, it's very hard to get gem level options. You can get +1/+2. That's pretty much so. +2 AOE is the only one that works with it. But yeah, getting a +1/+2 is generally like pretty hard and expensive, right? Like, and aside from that, you can't get any global modifiers. So in that case, it's good, but still, it's outclassed in endgame by basically any other like weapon. Like, even just getting a % chaos dot multi and like cast speed wand is already almost better than using this with the like a dagger that's crafted almost perfectly for it. In all situations that I've tried this, like, it ended up being like 40% less damage in endgame, so it's pretty substantial because you're losing out. Like, the thing is, you're just losing a support gem, right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say when you said that the numbers on Spellblade are really good. I was like, yeah, it has to compete with other with other support gems. It needs
but it
to
makes
be
sense.
really good.
It makes sense, like, in the way that he framed it, because it's early on, a more multiplier is basically like useless if you have nothing to multiply, and this is giving you that thing that is then multiplied by your other two support gems in the campaign. So that's why it's so good early, but then falls off.
Well, the question is there any skill in the game that has like really good added damage effectiveness but really bad base damage, so that the base damage of this would really matter a lot?
They're pretty normalized.
Minions, but that doesn't work.
Yeah. They're pretty normalized, the spells. Like, I usually use Wave of Conviction as a benchmark, but if you look at, say, Wave of Conviction and Fireball, you'll see that their damage effectiveness is about 10% difference in favor of Fireball, but their flat damage is about 10% different in favor of Fireball. And then if you have a look, I think it's... What's the other one, though, that is something... there is something that is really divergent from this just by virtue of having such a low damage effectiveness. The Relic of the Pact thing, but that's not going to be... And it doesn't work with this.
Yeah, I think added damage effectiveness is like very deceiving. A lot of people always quote that as like, oh, this is good with flat stacking, but essentially it's balanced around the fact that the skill has like either a secondary mechanic or the flat damage on the skill gem itself. And there are situations where that can sort of be, because of unintended mechanics, that can sort of go out the window. Like when we, for example, had like Fireball with Nimbus, and you could overlap every single explosion. And then in those situations, that's like things go out of control. But otherwise, it's essentially skills are within like 5 to 10% of each other. There's very little variance. So like adding damage is just as good on any skill gem as any other skill gem.
Yeah. Outside weird cases, like I think Discharges is a weird case.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a couple
and like weird like triggers of slow casting things and whatnot, but like generally speaking, I agree with it. That's pretty much right across the board.
So going back to the Guardian skills real quick. So we figured out for minions it's underwhelming is what you said, Balor, but there is a secret build that you can do where you like scale the explosion of the relics.
Yeah. That's going to be super spicy. It's super bad, but super spicy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good, but it looks fun.
What can you do to reduce the duration of a minion?
Well, I mean, it does have a cooldown time of 0.3 second that you're not going to go faster, right?
Yeah,
Well,
but
that's cooldown time, then cooldown reduction.
Right.
that's
True.
the last problem to solve. I think the main problem is getting the minion duration. Like, can we get the
It to
minion
die
duration
quicker.
down
But
under
does it
300
does it
milliseconds?
does it not automatically die when you summon a new one? When it's like
No, it says refresh.
No, it'll refresh.
only
its
refresh
duration.
if you
need to
already
get it-
have one of the chosen element. But if it chooses another element, then it summons a new one, and that means the old one dies.
They have
right?
both.
No, you
you
have
have
all
both?
three. You have all three auras and all three minions.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, makes sense. I just assumed for some reason you can have maximum one at the same time, but yeah.
Oh, no, it wouldn't be useful then. But I think it'd be pretty fringe. It wouldn't be a 4-point ascendancy node if it was only one of them.
Yeah.
I do know someone that's trying something really spicy with the other relic we can come to in a sec, but the minion popcorn with this. What can you do to reduce duration of minions though? That's the question. I'm not Justice. I can't think of all of these things.
I got nothing, and I do tons of minions.
I'm not a minion guy. I'm sorry.
Well, you can't link anything with it because it's a skill that you granted, right? So you
Mhm.
can't use that aura support, for example, that we're getting in this next patch, where they get a physical degen based on a percentage of their life. I mean, that wouldn't be enough to degen them down anyway before they die after 5 seconds. But there's so many ways how that doesn't work. And then the Sentinel of Radiance, is that even...
So I know someone that's got a goofy idea for this. Apparently, the Righteous Fire aura that this projects, which doesn't actually hurt the Sentinel, they want to play around with that and also Frigid Bond. I have advised against this, but I do think it's going to be cool if it works. This hybrid cold and fire damage over time setup that they think seems to be fairly solid in Path of Building. Like
in terms of numbers, I can't see this fire damage being good enough because it's like, I mean, it's unscalable with support gems.
Yeah, its base numbers are actually pretty good. When I first glanced at it, I was like, oh, that's a good amount of damage. And then I was like, wait, hang on, I can't link it with anything.
Yeah.
Never mind.
You can scale the minion's life via your passive tree. You can scale minion damage via your passive tree, but you can't multiply either of those stats.
Mm-hmm.
I think this lives or dies based upon how effectively the summoned Sentinel of Radiance itself engages as a combat minion. And don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. We have to try it in game.
Like, if its combat prowess is comparable to modern day Stone Golem, then it's nothing special. If it's comparable to 3.8 era Carrion Golem, then this is going to be strong.
Be aggressive.
On that thought, couldn't you explode them with Maul Mischief?
Yes. Yes.
So you could just kill them.
With the elemental relic, yeah, and make them have their farewell nuke that they set off when they die.
Yeah, exactly. So then you get a double nuke kind of. I don't know how much HP they have. I don't know if it says it there. No.
19416 life on the relic.
Right, yeah.
Which is
That's a
cool.
character level 85.
That's level 85 with no minion scaling on the tree. So that's fine.
So you can use these with Maul, yeah. I suppose.
You need something which rapidly hits rare or unique enemies so you can summon a whole bunch of them.
Right.
Yeah, what's the fastest hitting stuff now?
I don't know.
Is it still something like Kinetic Blast? You can do better than that, surely.
I mean, you don't need to hit all that fast, right? You can use something that's convenient as long as you 25% chance. That means 1 in 4 you summon one. So if you can hit 12 times real quick. Does it?
Stormbrand.
Yeah, Stormbrand would be.
Yeah.
Probably.
Or Ball
the least
Lightning.
clunky thing that I can think about. But
Yeah,
still,
that's
we're
my
getting
plan.
into like giga clunky territory here. I think it's just like meme territory.
Maybe that's the way to go for a second character, though. So, Ball Lightning Spell Echo, in order to conjure a whole bunch of, in order to get a lot of hits on the boss at once, then summon a whole bunch of summoned elemental relics and just kaboom them.
Explode them with more of mischief.
And get both the relics farewell explosion as well as more of mischief.
Just because we're talking about it like it's a meme build, I got to tell everyone my meme plan for build number 2 of the league. It's going to be the worst thing I've ever made. Me and 2 of my friends are going to make 3 guardians from the beginning with just link skills to do damage. So we have to go as a group where like A links to B, B links to C, and C links back to A. And we're going to have the 3 people linked together. And we're going to run around. We're going to level up that way and everything.
You guys are your own Searing Bomb totems.
Yeah. We're just going to try and run around and get them killed in the like degen links together, which is going to be just horrendously bad. I don't
Are you going to
anyone
go
do
for the
this.
Shakos,
Don't
though, with
do it.
level 35 bond on them?
Yeah. Don't do what we're gonna do. But we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Are you going to go for Forbidden Shakos with level 35?
I'd be surprised if any of those even show up. Like, who lists that?
Yeah.
Oh, people have been talking about it. It depends on the scaling numbers, but like Shakos with 35s will be they'll be expensive. It'll be something you're not going to roll over.
Will it?
I'm not sure about that, but I'll be excited to see it.
Like, it's gonna suck. The build's gonna suck. It's the whole thing is a meme. Nobody should do what I just talked about. It's not going to be a pleasant experience, but it is going to be hilarious.
Who knows? Before you know it, you break the game with link skills.
No shots.
All right. Well, something we're all looking forward to. I think that's probably the biggest hype for. I mean, outside of the new options for build making, but this is something that even if you don't want to use the new support gems, you just want to play the same build that you played last league, is going to be exciting, and that is, well, wrong layout. Here we go. The tattoos that we get from the Trial of the Ancestors endgame encounters. And of course, these are only small teasers. There's many more. I believe the list of names has been leaked, and a lot of people engaged in speculation as to which one does which. But the ones that we see here are the ones that replace small attribute passive skills. And we have one for intelligence that grants 6% reduced effect of curses on you. We got a small dexterity one that increases flask effect duration by 6. And a small strength one that gives you 15 life per second regenerated, a flat amount of 15. These are all pretty strong values if you think about like being able to get them on all your travel nodes, right? I mean, on top of that, I mean, nah, not really on top. You're replacing the attributes, so you're gonna have to get the attributes up.
Supreme Ostentation League.
Yeah. That's in my whoop already. That is set up. Some of them look real strong, like that flask one. Like if you've got 10 of them on 60% flask duration, it's quite a lot.
Yeah, that's really good.
But some of them will be bad. I'm sure there'll be a whole bunch that I'm gonna hide on my filter. You can't have a list that long and have them all be good. I've never seen it, but it also looks like there's some pretty good ones. So
yeah, I think that the 15 life per second numbers are high, but a lot of the time you're going to prefer the 8% fire res because you're going to get fire res somewhere, and it's a low opportunity cost source of it, and then also having the fire mastery. think we'll see a big uptake in people taking that fire mastery this league. But you've got options there. They're both viable choices. You've got the Hinekora Death Warden. I actually like having a moderate amount of that stat on characters. The reduce effect of curses on you. Like having at least 30-40% of that. They don't necessarily need a full 100% unless you're actively inflicting curses on yourself. But I think that one is quite niche. Like, it's quite useful. It does something genuinely useful, and you only need 5 of them.
Yeah, I think the curse effect reduction looks also really good. I mean, thinking that you can also get curse effect reduction on a jewel, on a rare jewel somewhere, and I was really upset when I saw that Guardian lost its 80% reduced effect of curses on you on time of need. But if that means that that stat is going to be widely more available for everyone, then that's great. I mean, I love myself some curse effect reduction, preferably above 90 or even 100%.
Yeah, getting it to 100% is obviously really good for dealing with vulnerability bleeds. But all the rest of the curses are pretty much neutered once you've got 30 or 40% effect down on them.
I usually go for 60 to 80. I don't really care about being immune. I'll just be bleed immune, and then I don't care about the rest of them if I can just make them a little weaker.
Yeah, for the most part, that's fine. Isn't silence a curse as well? And it's like binary, like either you completely reduce it, or even with 99% reduced effect, you're still silenced? I don't remember.
It's so rare. It's like, yeah, in hardcore maybe, but even if you're pushing 100 in softcore, you don't care about it.
Yeah, fair.
And you can always get it on a dual corruption, right? That's still a thing.
Yeah. Yep. Cannot be silenced. Can just be a corruption.
If you're really worried about that, that is. Which, as Sirgog mentioned, I don't think you should be. I think the cool thing about these tattoos, though, is not what they're showing us, is what they're not showing us. Because there's some like intrigue in like, oh, what could be next? You know, I feel like they didn't tease almost anything this league.
There's
Yeah, they
also
only
some
gave us
names. There's some names on that list that look real good, but I don't know what they do yet.
There's very little known about 3.22 exclusive content. Like, it's been much more discussion of the changes to the core game this league than there have, you know, with the support gems, with the Atlas overhaul and stuff like that.
I want to play. Can we start now?
Have we seen any of the big ones other than the +1 skill gems one for the big attribute passive skills?
I think no. I assume that we'll see all of them. What will be for me tomorrow morning in the PWDB? There'll be a.
Oh yeah, we'll probably
Somebody
be
will
data
just
mined
pull all of them, right?
from the GGPK. Yeah, probably.
Unless they've used the unique concealing tech, which they sometimes do on things.
I don't think they do on things like this, though. Not usually.
They don't normally.
I expect we'll just see everything.
All right. We got more teasers to go through. Damn, time is flying. This is more things. Spend too much time. Oh yeah, there's the Fire of Unknown Origin Divination card that goes towards Nimbus. I mean, there's not much we can say about the divination cards, right? Other than art is awesome, looks great.
Yeah.
Or this shouldn't be a card.
On map choices if it's in a map.
Yeah, true.
I wouldn't be surprised if it just actually drops from the boss itself.
No. Well,
I would
that's
like
what we
that.
want. I don't expect it.
I would rather, yeah.
It won't be Eater. It won't be Uber Eater, but it could be another boss. Like this wouldn't surprise me if they gave this to Uber Cirrus.
Should give it to Maven.
I don't know. I don't like uniques being put on, like boss uniques being put on divination cards, but somebody paid for it, so I think GG is just like, okay, you know.
Actually, my speculation is this will go with the Black Star. There's there's enough of a thematic link, like the flame, wind, all fits. And also there is another chase unique that has a card from Infinite Hunger. It's a Stranglegrasp one. So I wouldn't be surprised if this goes with Black Star.
Maybe. Fair enough.
And if it is, it'll be 1 in 150, 1 in 200 to get it.
Yeah,
I just goes down to like 5 divs or something now. Like, how much is it right now, for example?
Already
I'll
like
go
4 to
check.
5 or something, isn't it?
Well, to be fair, it went up recently, actually.
Okay.
Don't know why. It went from being 500 chaos to being 3,000.
What?
Yeah.
People
because it's
decide
not
they want
online.
to try it. People start throwing away currency into League.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it basically looks like all League. It's like super duper cheap. Like it's not even 5 divines. It's like 2 divines at some points.
Hmm.
That's kind of sad if you think about it. They kind of destroyed its mechanics a bit.
It's also the case that like it's Eater that Uber Eater, people run it for the Forbidden Flesh jewels primarily, and Nimbus is just sort of a waste product of people chasing the top Forbidden Fleshes.
Right, but only because Nimbus isn't worth wearing in the builds that were wearing it before.
Yeah, like in the past, it was more people were chasing Nimbus, and then they were getting those Forbidden Flesh jewels by accident. There's always going to be something that is the most undersupplied item from any particular boss, and at the moment, it's going to be Forbidden Flesh. The Guardian Elemental Relics will be the undersupplied one. All of this league.
But with Vengeance Cascade gone, this will not be more valuable than before?
It will be more used, yeah, but there'll be an additional supply from Fire of Unknown Origins. Like, even though this is probably going to be like twice as rare as House of Mirrors from stack decks, there will still be a lot of them from stack decks because the Path of Exile player base opens literally millions of those every day. Many millions, like probably 10 million plus every day.
Fair enough. Right. Well, that was a lot of stuff. I didn't think that the diff card will give us so much to talk about. This one certainly won't. The Fortunate, yeah, the 2 Divine. I think we looked at this already last podcast. I, for one, am happy we're getting Divine cards.
This will be a meta changer if it's in any map. Like
In any map at all.
You know, it's just going to
Karui
be a
themed,
boss.
and there is a Karui_map tag, which includes Strand. So if that's where it is, if it is tied to that and it's in Strand amongst other maps, then it's going to be like absolute. It's going to be the biggest meta changing div card since Apothecary.
You know, it's just going to be a boss, right?
Well,
That's
Brothers
It's
Keeper
going to be just
wasn't.
a boss.
I don't think so,
I'm
though.
pretty-
Because it's a
I'm
12
pretty
set.
confident.
Don't know. I hope not. Because, yeah, otherwise it's super boring.
I would love for it not to be, but I don't think they're going to let us go farm many div
There's no
cards at
way
all.
that, like, GG are happy just watching people go Crimson Prison every league for the past, like, however long.
Yeah.
And they haven't even removed Crimson Temple for how long now as well.
Yep.
I
It's
have
probably
no,
like just a band-aid for endgame. Honestly.
I just cannot understand why they haven't removed 7 Years Bad Luck from Crimson Temple and from Defile Cathedral. Like, even if they did that, they would still be the best maps in the game to farm for div cards.
Yeah, they could easily move them somewhere else.
They could move them somewhere else, and then you'd have a little bit more variance in what maps people are running. But this card is going to be like there's an S tier for div card farming, which is Apothecary and nothing else. There is an A tier, which is Brother's Gift, and this will be in the same as that. And then there is a B tier, which is the Headhunter, the clean Headhunter cards, and the Mirror Shard cards.
They're going to put it on Crimson Temple. Watch. Watch.
Oh god!
I mean, maybe just to compete with the other diff card drops to dilute the pool.
Jesus.
Yep. Easy
Also, this should
Crimson.
be drop weighted around 1250, which would make it 3 times rarer than the Porcupine if it's a zone drop.
Easy Crimson card. Let's go. I actually like Crimson Temple, so I'm on board.
I mean, why not? One more league can't hurt, right?
You'd think I'd be bored of it by now, but I'm not. It's actually
Brain's already
Crimson Heaven.
fried.
It's not
Doesn't-
Crimson Prison, it's Crimson Heaven. It's where I want to be.
You feel right at home.
Yeah.
You blend in. Oh yeah, this is also something that we've been teased about. This is a visual thing, like a new feature. I think this stirred up a lot of conversation in the community because a lot of people thought that this could be done better. Basically, like every time you get a pop-up in your social tab in Path of Exile in the game client, now different things, different pop-ups have different symbols. So you get a different symbol for a challenge to PvP, you get a different for a trade request or for a party or a guild invite. And so you're supposed to be able to tell at a glance what you got there and what you're accepting or declining. But you guys think they did a good job with this? I mean, it's great that we're getting more quality of life. I've seen some mock-ups on Twitter. I'm gonna try and find them. It could be done so much better, especially like factoring in colorblind players also.
They did a job.
It's better than the status quo, but it's not perfect.
Yeah. It definitely could have been done better, but it's also still definitely an improvement on what we had. So I'm pretty hesitant to be as critical as, let's say, Reddit was, for instance, because like it's still vastly better than what we had. There is now something that differentiates all the invites, and there was nothing that differentiates all the invites. So like, I do wish people would calm down a little bit with their criticism. Like, it wasn't perfect. It's definitely not great, but like, we got something we didn't have. The word you're looking for is thank you. So,
ever wondered why GGG don't post on Reddit anymore? They've learned.
Right?
No.
I mean, there was a lot of good and constructive feedback around this, and yeah, I guess the tone is overall a little bit negative, but yeah, I mean, I appreciate that that they implement this, right? And the graphics, you can still change that. You can probably also change the colors now that there is like an actual difference in the system, like a flag that tells the game what kind of pop-up it is. So, and everything else is just minor details. And if they don't change it for this release, then I'm sure they're going to adjust it somewhere down the road if they find a way to do it better. And actually not that sure, but yeah. I've recently noticed when I started playing again, so I've been away for a while, right? And like tried to get a little bit unburnt out and build up hype for the next league so I can dive in head first again. And I've noticed that like a lot of things I've kind of forgotten about that they really annoy me. Like, for example, having to put attack without moving onto every skill manually, every league, every character.
Yep.
And it's just something that, like, after complaining about it so many times, I'm just tired of complaining about it, and I move on to complain about other things.
Yeah,
But,
definitely. Like when you're trading for divination cards in particular at the start of a league, like I know that it's quite common for me to buy 12 copies of the sacrifice, which usually involves sending out 16 or 20 tells. And then you'll have a bunch of people who will send you an invite, but it'll be delayed and you'll be trading with the last person at that point. And it just ends up being so frustrating. This is going to be a big quality of life improvement for people who do that early on.
And speaking of quality of life improvements, of course, we also got this beauty here, which
Definitely not a scammer.
Yeah, I love how they always implement like little jokes with the character names and account names that they use to make these videos. What was the guy's name? Matthew 1?
Yeah, I looked up his profile. He doesn't have any public characters.
So he doesn't even have definitely not a scammer. Damn.
I can't even find it now.
Well, anyway, so for those listening who probably are like, what the fuck are they talking about? You can now, when you hover currency in a trade window or in any inventory for that matter, you can press the highlight key, Alt, and then it will show you the total of the amount offered of that kind of item, I guess. Any stacks, I think, works, right? Essences,
Yeah, I think it's everything.
splinters. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely big quality of life here. And I just wish that you didn't have to press Alt for it, right? I don't see why. Like, I mean, but yeah. I guess it makes sense in your inventory, but in a trade window, I think it shouldn't require you to press Alt.
Yeah, pressing Alt is just there's a bunch of things like that. Oh,
Like it could be like a thing at the top right where it says like C and then colon 182 or like D for divines, right? Or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, there's plenty of space in the trade window.
Yeah.
That is not being utilized. Think about it. And you could also just add a little bit on the side. Or...
I can't see that component of that part working because people have so much variance in what they put in there. Like you could have, say, if you're buying an entire tab of different scarabs from someone,
Yeah.
which then that's just going to be a mess, especially with how long the names are for scarabs in the short versions that they use.
True.
Yeah.
I wonder if this works for like essences and stuff as well, because I always hate counting like 9
Yeah.
times
Yeah.
the amount of rows.
I think anything that stacks, really.
Okay, that'd be sick.
I hope so.
I mean,
Just,
if anything, and definitely essences, maybe not fragments, but essences are like currencies, right? So that makes sense.
Yeah. So if people want an anti-quality of life joke suggestion, why don't they change the stack size on Varlorbs to 23?
Why do I love that?
13.
I should
13. No,
hate
don't
that.
go up. You need to go down. Going up.
23 can be placed as quality of life because it's larger, and
Yeah.
also it's harder. Like 13 is easy to multiply by. 23 is just a lot harder.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I should hate that, but I love it. It just suits Varlorbs, right? Like it's like, look, it's
April
Krangle.
1st
Like,
patch
please.
next year. I just leave it in the game for a week or two,
All right, I'm gonna
then change it to 30.
I'm gonna vote for it when you bring up the petition. Definitely. I'm gonna skip over all the skill because we're gonna go over the support gems in a second, and then we keep the videos for then when we have info. But there's still 2 or 3 more teasers. The Timeless Conflict Atlas passive keystone, where instead of having a timer on your Legion encounter in maps, you get a schism that is progressively caused. Basically, this is only good for people who can't find the things that they want to break out and break them out before the timer expires.
No good. Don't take it.
This is for getting started in a league. This is for when you're not yet strong enough to do Legion properly. It's to get your feet wet with Legion, and it's something you want to grow out of. The same with the Delirium Keystone, definitely as well.
And the Blight Keystone that we talked about earlier,
Blight as well, but...
where you can rely on the towers and maps just to farm up some currency early on, even though your build is crap.
I kind of disagree with that, because I feel like the Delirium Keystone definitely has uses, and
It's true, yeah.
the Blight Keystone also has uses. Like I would rather like not do anything and just have my boys die, like that. Like just like build like 2 towers and then everything dies. Because if you put like the Ring Annoyance and you do like a Burning Ground tower, you could probably just AFK there with 1 tower. And I think that's cool, right? I just like, all right, I got a Blight, boom, and just everything dies. But this is just wasteful. It's just terrible. So when they announced like this keystone, I was like hoping like, let us open the Legion without the monsters going in stasis, right? So you click it and then everything just instantly spawns. I was like, that would be sick.
Cool.
Yeah. But then they give us this, which is like, I don't know.
This
full-on
lets
Legion without
people
having to
who
break it out.
can't. This lets people who can't and shouldn't be doing Legions con themselves into thinking taking Legion nodes will be good for them, when it still won't be. is a waste of time. No one should ever take that note, in my opinion. I think
What
it's
should
trash.
people be doing when they have a crap build? Should they just run heists?
Not doing legions?
Yeah.
I think this would be fine for if you're in that situation. Legion drops enough that getting 60% of the loot, but definitely getting it is probably going to be one of the more efficient things you can do.
No, but it's not though, because if you just did something that benefited slower running builds instead of clear speed builds, you'd do better. This lets people who can't do legions, which has got nothing to do with how you are as a player, it's what build you've picked.
Oh,
It
no,
lets
I'm
you
thinking
pick
about
on a
this.
build that shouldn't be doing legions. It lets you con yourself into thinking it'll be okay to do legions and then getting a smaller portion of the reward than you should be getting when you could be doing one of the other 45 mechanics that work on the slower clearing build.
Yeah, but it's you from your experienced player point of view, assuming that if your build is not good at Legion, it's automatically good at, it must be good at something else. But some people have builds that are legitimately not good at anything.
No, I'm thinking a build that is designed for Legion, but your gear is still terrible.
Yeah,
it's
that makes
like
sense. It all
something
depends on
you
like
use
the
to do that.
schism value, right? So like I think I agree as well with like Sirgog playing the opposite side of things, because if it's like 70%, then it's really good. If it's like 50%, it's really bad. So there's two sides to this argument. Is like one argument that I can't disagree with is like if you enjoy Legion, and you want to run it but you can't because your build is not good for it, this is fine. It's fine to take it, right? Like it's whatever. It's basically like free anyways because you can spawn mechanics in your maps.
But then we're talking about fun rather than
Yeah, of course.
correct or
efficiency.
efficient. And the answer
definitely.
is always fun first. Even if the thing you're doing is inefficient, if you're having fun, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right?
But then the opposite side as well is like if it is 50%, I think even pretty bad builds can clear 50% of a Legion already without Schism, because you have like, I think it's like almost like 22, like 25 seconds to clear it. So if it is 50%, then it's just bad in every single scenario. But it's going to give you the impression of it being good, I suppose. So I don't know. It really depends on the number. If it's like 70%, it's actually pretty good. Because I could see a situation where,
like, because it's the monsters with reward icons over their heads that matter. Like, I figure that if you're using this, you're going to cherry pick the monsters that have the reward icons.
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say, if you have like a godly single target build, like a melee Viper Strike, probably not, but you know, like what I mean, like something with really single target set up, but can't do area clear really well, right? And then of course you obviously have the people in SSF who just want to get the 5th slot on their map device and grind towards that 5-way, and maybe don't want to roll a new build for it.
I don't deal with like SSF or private leagues because the answer there is always just you do what you've got to do to get the content you need to run. Like it doesn't matter whether it was inefficient or not. But as far as trade goes, I don't see any reason for anybody to take this other than like maybe for like a few hours on day one when you're building like a Legion specific build, but your gear is trash and you just can't do it yet, but you've already spec'd into it. Like maybe there's a few hours worth of it being useful specifically for that. And even then, I feel like it's a stretch. I don't know. I feel like this is the biggest bait node I've ever seen. I can't believe other people are saying it's even okay. It's just so bad.
There's people who are in that period for longer than you are.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I recently talked to someone in my real life who said, like, who knew that I was doing Path of Exile content, and he was like proudly telling me how he played Path of Exile last season for like 4 weeks, and that he made it to Act 6.
Oh wow! Okay, here I was thinking you're going to say that they beat Uberlab on their 9th attempt in 6 weeks, but.
No, it was definitely a couple weeks. I mean, they didn't tell me how many hours they played daily. I could be that they just played like, you know, Saturday, Sunday, 4 hours each or something like that, right? And a new player, we all know they can spend hundreds of hours in the acts.
But the thing is, you're making it sound like new players or less experienced players. Like I'm saying, oh well, if you're shit, just don't do it. But it's got nothing to do with that. It's got everything to do with the build you've picked. If your build can do legions, they're fantastic. And if they can't do legions, taking this node to force legion on it is just doing an inefficient, bad rewarding thing when you could pick something your build could do instead, is my point. Like,
Yeah,
it's
good.
not like, oh, bad player, just don't do Legion, lol. It's, well, that build doesn't suit Legion. Why are you trying to force it when you could pick a different mechanic that works already? That's my thought process about it.
No,
I think
and it's a valid one.
You pick this and then you unspec it once your gear is good enough that you no longer need it, and you pick this on things that are going to grow into a reasonably solid Legion build, but that aren't there yet because your gear isn't there. Like, you might take this at level you might take this when your character level is 78, and you might unspec it when your character hits 91, because then your gear is probably just improved. Even without super focused play, you no longer need it. Now, for Baylor Mage, or that may be a period of 4 hours, but for Johnny Casual, that might be a period of like 16 hours spread over the first 3 weeks of the league. And that's what I think they're going for with this particular keystone, and also the Delirium one. Although, like Tuna said, there are other uses for the Delirium one.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe people find something that we don't know about yet. Maybe there will be something. Maybe not even this patch, but somewhere down the road that has a different interaction with it. We shall see.
And that too. It's a good point.
Another teaser were the Kerak map mods. I don't think this gives us too much to talk about. Any thought here? Always good to have Essence on the map device for two chaos.
Heist isn't there, which is going to make 7th Gate for Heist something that I'm definitely paying attention to as an option, because whether you're wanting to run Heist yourself or not, Heist is a zero, like it's 3 seconds a map to activate it, and then it's just selling a full tab on TFT once you've built it up. Heisty stuff always sells, so that's something I think is going to be really slept on.
Yeah. 7th Gate being that new Atlas passive keystone that unlocks all the League map device crafting options as long as you have all the 6 gateways on the Atlas passive tree allocated. And of course the keystone. So in total you spent 7 points, but then that means all the League map crafting options that aren't on the map device naturally from Kerak this league are available. Are they then also do they also do Fortune Favors the Brave? Can that also randomly pick the ones that are unlocked from that? I mean, I guess we'd have to ask the devs. You can't answer that.
Yeah, can't answer.
But that would be defeat the purpose of speccing it, right?
What do you mean?
Well, because, I mean, you're speccing the things so that you can access something that we don't have, and Fortune Favors the Brave just rolls the dice, and it's going to be like, I don't know, like 30 mechanics, half of which are probably just, let's be honest, not good. Like Talisman and stuff is going to be on there. So
Talisman is going to be on there?
I think it'll just be things that
were there previously, right? The last couple leagues or something like that.
I don't know. They data mined it. Like, somebody data mined it, and there was like all these, like, even Talisman was there, like stuff like that. Like Talisman was like 1 exalt.
I believe it when I see it.
Something. Yeah, I mean, who knows? They'll probably refine the list. But I'm pretty sure Neversink had like a list on Twitter. If I find it, I'll link it.
That's interesting.
All right.
Not Neversink.
Well, we already talked about this, but this is the keystone where the Delirium fog never dissipates, and obviously
Tuna was mentioning there's some MF uses. May as well talk a bit more about them.
Yeah, I always thought that Delirium Orbs and Simulacrum Splinters are very, very juicy returns from running Delirium mirrors in your maps, and you just want to give them up. And how are you going to make that worth it, Tuna?
Well, this is in situations where you're doing a map that doesn't have a layout that favors the Delirium mirror.
Right.
And it also enables you to purchase and run 8 mod corrupted maps, so that you're actually getting sort of value out of the Delirium mirror sextant, aka Delirium, right? Which has added quantity and added monsters and pack size, and while still being able to run a map that is unfavorable for usually the delirium mirror. So essentially what it enables is it enables you to run 8 mod corrupted maps without having to previously what people would do is they would like chisel alk vial, they would put 4 delirium orbs, and then they would corrupt them, and if they don't go into 8 mod, they just don't run them, right?
You
So you
just
can
throw
imagine
the whole map away. It's
so
terrible.
you can imagine how wasteful that is in comparison to guaranteeing the delirium mirror, and then boom.
It feels so bad to do too. Like I hated that.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, it's not like there was a big market for badly rolled 80% delirious maps. You'd probably sell them on TFT if you tried, but like you'd be taking a big haircut and it'll take a bunch of time.
I'll be using that node for sure.
Yeah.
Right. And then we had another teaser. Spent a lot longer time on the teasers than I thought, which is a good thing because that means that you guys just had a lot more interesting things to say about them that I didn't think of beforehand. No, that was all of them. Shall we go over the support gems? I think from top to left to bottom right, or is there one you want to cherry pick? Is there like maybe you guys have one that is your absolute favorite?
Can I suggest one to discuss for mechanics, one to discuss for just raw numbers?
Sure, go ahead.
You want me to go first? Now, okay, so let's start with the one that I think is just numerically very good, and that is volatility support, top right. This one is the one that causes, if you're doing 100 to 100 damage, this is actively bad. It's a 5.5% nerf to your damage. But if you're doing 0 to 200 damage, this is a 58% more maximum attack damage.
Anyone
support.
lightning, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And also fizz under certain circumstances. So fizz not necessarily on its own. There's a bunch of variance in weapons. So some weapons, I was having a look at the one-handed thrusting swords. I can't remember what it was, but one of them has a very low minimum, very high maximum. It's not the jeweled foil, but there's a bunch of variance in specific weapons like that that you will have to factor in. That's going to be something that'll take a while. But if you can get lucky damage with attacks via any means, there's a few ways to do it. You could perhaps have a violent retaliation, forbidden flame, and forbidden flesh duel on your champion. Or who knows, maybe you could even start as a gladiator, and then when you can afford those forbidden duels, then you can respec to a better ascendancy. There's ways that you can get lucky damage to attacks. You've got that silly timeless duel that makes your damage with critical strikes lucky at the expense of not letting you use a helmet. And
Love that
so
one.
there's a whole bunch of things you can do to make this better. If your damage range is 0 to 100, then this is a 58% more damage support, but also being lucky is a 33% more damage as well. And you've got Rizlatha's Coil getting you closer to that. And you just got the intrinsic fact that volatility is really good on bleed. So this is the support gem that I like for pure numbers. And the one that I think is just going to be fun, and I'm going to try it, and I'm probably going to regret this, I'm going to try and use Flamewood, which I think is number 3 in the top row. I'm going to try and use Flamewood on Searing Bond early in the league.
On Searing Bond?
Because your totems are going to taunt. Your totems are going to taunt. Your totems are going to tote.
If you're chieftain,
if you're chieftain.
Yeah.
And so it's going, like the problem is that I'm not going to have a 100% chance to ignite with low investment. I'm only going to have 60%. I don't think I'm going to stick with this, but it's just something so new and weird that I have to try it. And turns out that that's wrong. Then I've got a fallback plan.
So volatility is also extremely good for strength stackers because replica Alberons is 1 to 80.
Yeah.
So strength stackers are going to be completely busted with this. And also original sins coming back on top of that. So yeah, you can really leverage into this, by if you got OG sin, you have for lightning damage as well as like fire damage.
I was gonna say energy blade builds, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, that could be a thing as well. I think another numerically completely broken one is the locust support. And there are ways to leverage its downside. So first of all, the fact that you can't really aim it aside for having to be in the direction of the monster. The best case scenario of this gem being like insane that I would see is you use this with tornado shot, and basically you get 10 projectiles. That means you have 30% less projectiles, so 30% less damage. But since you're basically getting another multiplier of 2 additional mines, that's 200% more damage. So even just that is just going to be 170% more. And all you have to really do is like throw the mine behind you and have the mine sort of like shoot in your direction.
So you stand on top of the boss.
Except it's a really long range.
It's 30 radius. It's not that big.
30
like
radius is a long way to be away from the mines for them to trigger.
But you can just throw mines, right? Like wherever you want. So you do have to just position your mouse in a certain way where they throw far away from you.
You just blink arrow after you've done it.
Yeah, like you can just like basically just throw them like 30 yards away, and then they'll just like shoot towards you. So that's the way I see it, right? Like it's like you won't have to move it off.
31 units away.
Yeah, or whatever. Like you know what I mean, right? Like it's essentially it's like it's a bit clunky maybe, and like, but the good thing about TS is that you don't really have to aim it because of the secondary projectile explosions being kind of able to hit anything that's on the screen. And then if on top of that you have like dead-eye ricochet, and you have projectiles colliding with terrain, 30% of those are chaining back to your original target, then you can get into some pretty insane damage multiplier numbers by stacking projectiles and mines.
Yep.
And it would also mean that you don't have to use other shitty mine supports like minefield or stuff like that, because you are getting 2 additional mines here, and you could probably just get a ton of mine throwing speed.
You do have,
I mean, that's to be seen, right?
It's going to be bad on Act bosses that are in tight areas, especially Act 5 and 10 Katava. Also, Act 9 Depraved Trinity. This is going to be horrible. But
you can just take it out and replace it, right?
Those are milestones. You get past them.
Yeah, and then you just don't do Belfry map.
Yeah. Who wants to do Belfry?
And Lava Lake.
And other skill gems is like, just quickly say like Trauma is really, really, really strong. It's just like really good. The first one is really good as well. Like numbers wise, it's pretty good early on, but you'll have to find a way to actually like stack.
Control Blaze.
So I think it's Control Blaze. Yeah. So essentially, you'll have to attack like 3.3 times per second to achieve a multiplier of like 78% more on a single target. So if you do attack 3.3 times per second, you are basically getting a 78% more multiplier for your ignites, which is, better than any other skill gem in the game.
Can I just point out something you're going to have as a problem with that, though? Sometimes you are going to attack once per 300 milliseconds, but you're going to inflict 10 ignites per second because you're hitting other monsters. You're getting splash damage on other monsters. So it does have a drawback, but it is manageable. It's good.
Yeah.
Wait, how is that a drawback? Because
it's literally only good on single target. That's where there isn't like ads or secondary, mob spawning as well. Because in those scenarios, then you just get to the point where it deals 2%, I think, is like at its worst.
Yeah.
Or there's
the
a
less
sweet
fire
spot for
outgrows, the more.
Yeah. But I mean, even then, I think like you'll still won't get to the 2% because you'd have to hit something like ridiculous, like 30 times a second to get to that. I'm not really sure. There was a graph and it showed all this kind of stuff. But essentially, I think regardless, it's just going to be really good for ignites if you attack a certain amount of times per second.
It breaks if you ignite more than 20 monsters in a 4-second window. That's when it starts to be actively, like when it becomes a poor choice of support gem.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a do nothing gem if you're at 6.5 or more per second.
Yeah. But I think most builds just never really have a problem with clear, and it's always a single target that's the issue. So I think it's a good gem for that.
So you'd be willing to sacrifice some clear power and just have your single target be better.
Yeah, right. But like there's like monsters and maps have like almost no HP, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Your ramp up on tanky rares is going to be bad with it while you're clearing.
Yeah,
because you're going to have that 4-second window where you have just ignited 37 monsters in the last 4 seconds.
Yeah, it's valid.
But yeah, it's a good gem.
Other ones, I guess, like projectile return is like pretty basic, but yeah, it's like a nice multiplier. I think it's 39.
39%. It's going to be your fifth link in most builds
Yeah.
that we're using Vengeance Cascade before. It's going to be link 5 in my opinion.
Well, what I see the meta being next league for projectile gems is, I think already Pierce is like extremely underrated, but I think people are going to replace Chain and then go for Pierce and returning projectiles on any lightning arrow build. That's what I see happening.
I always just take the one chain from the Ascendancy and that's it. I never used chain support or anything like that.
Right.
It's like
I think
enough
that's
already.
Yeah, I think on Lightning Arrow, I feel like one chain is. This is obviously like probably personal opinion, but like on Lightning Arrow, I feel like one chain is quite wasted. On TS, that Ascendancy node is like absolutely cracked because of like projectiles colliding with terrain, shotgunning and stuff.
I love the one chain on Tornado on Lightning Arrow as well.
Yeah, fair enough. But then what are you sacrificing? Like far shot or
Far shot usually.
yeah,
But I also play league starts with a small group, and there'll be someone to kill bosses. I never have to do my own Eater and X-Arch, which is why I think I get away with that. I tell people in this solo, you're taking long shot because it's too much now. So I'm exclusively mapping.
Yeah.
Or just pay for a carry service as well. Like if you're playing a build that is specialized in clear and that is actively bad on bosses, it's only 40 chaos. Now 40 chaos might be half your league wealth, but it's going to be worth it because it's going to speed you up.
Yeah.
I think returning projectile support, one issue with it is physics misses. Like if the monster is stationary and you're stationary, it is a 39% more multiplier. In the real world, I feel like maybe about 10% of the time that's not going to be the case, and it's going to not collide with the monster's hitbox on its way back. That's why I think that this is a serviceable gem, but not necessarily nuts, because you do have to dodge stuff. Bosses also move.
Yeah. But the other side of that is that you would use it. Usually, you just have like chain, right? Which it's like a less multiplier, or fork. So essentially, this is just like another way for you to like amplify your clear, and get a little bit of extra damage out of it on top of that. I think it's fine. I think it's like a fine solution for Vengeance Cascade because Vengeance Cascade was obviously just broken.
As much as I didn't want them to take away Vengeance Cascade because we just got it, I'm pretty sure the only reason I didn't want them to take it away is because it was busted and I was using it, not because it was balanced. It deserves to be gone. I just wanted it to not be gone.
I agree with that. And this is also enabled now on. It's like Nimbus, but not bad on spells, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, right, because it's not attack skills.
Yep.
Yeah, it's generic.
But the skill does have to end somewhere, right? Would this work with like ice spears? Is ice spear even projectile at this point?
I'm pretty sure.
It turns at 150, doesn't it? Like it goes 150, then returns.
I mean, if it works with Nimbus, it works. But
I'll have to look into that.
I could jump in game and see.
I actually have no idea.
Yeah, I'll confirm that.
A lot of people are hyped about Corrupting Cry. We already talked about it a little bit in the context of its huge multiplier. Do you guys think it's going to be good numerically?
I don't think so.
It's twice the damage of Corrupting Fever, roughly.
Right.
At a base.
Per stack.
So realistically, I don't know how easy it is to get 10 stacks all the time while running around. I know you can get AoE to like cover the whole screen, and that will be useful, but I don't know how easy it's going to be to get the cooldown of Shout slow enough to be able to maintain 10 stacks. And that's the question for me.
The General's Cry has a cooldown of 4 seconds, apparently, which means that if you have all of the increased duration on the tree, Corrupting Cry is going to last 4.18 seconds. So you'll need a little bit of Warcry cooldown time to make it not feel terrible, but I think it's going to be borderline.
Look, you're going to need to maintain at least 8 stacks, at least 8, and then it would be good. which would mean
Oh,
you'd need to
like
get the
nothing.
cooldown of your cries down to like 2 seconds, and I don't know how to do that. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm saying I literally have never looked into it before because I don't play melee builds, so I just don't have... Like, I know what I need to make it worth it, but whether or not that can be done, I have no idea.
So remember that you can donk monsters on the head with your exerted attack to refresh, to apply 1 stack and refresh all existing stacks, or you can just cast a new Warcry to refresh existing stacks and apply 4 more.
Right.
So as long as you're willing to make attacks, your attacks don't have to do any real damage. That's an option you've got.
Yeah.
Exerted a link to slam though, right? I can't like bow attack or something.
No.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you use... I don't think this works with a bow.
I can confirm that Ice Spear returns, by the way.
Ooh, nice.
Does it go 2 screens
Nice.
away then return? Like 150 units?
Yeah.
So does it the entire return is second phase where it has the higher crit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And it pierces everything, so yeah, it'll just basically shotgun.
Sounds good.
That's really good on... That's really good with returning projectile support then. Even though it's going to... Like, the crit is going to be the 39% base damage phase or 40% at gem level 21.
Yeah, it's really good.
Right. Another one that a lot of people are hyped about is the Guardian's Blessing, for which we actually have a video, right? Yeah.
Mm.
So this one you link to a minion skill, has a, I believe, 200% reservation multiplier or cost multiplier, and then the minion grants an aura as long as it's alive, but also has a physical degeneration on it. So it slowly dies, but at the same time it gives you a free aura.
This one, right?
In what kind of builds do you see this being used? Like every build? Like just one free aura for 3 slots? Elementalist?
Uh-huh. You're going to link it with a golem that automatically respawns itself. You're going to have 2 or 3 of those golems, so one is always out, and you now have a permanent non-maintenance aura that stays up all the time.
Oh, shit.
Uh-huh.
Or you can...
I just changed my league start plans.
You have to recast the aura every time, though. Every time it respawns.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think you have to recast the aura when you go to know... Well, let's watch here. Let's watch what happens when the minion dies. No, the aura stayed on. Oh, no, it went off. No, it went off. Oh, that's...
Right.
Wait, you have to
That's
cast
because
the
there's
aura?
only one minion.
Yeah.
See, I've got 3 stone golems out. They're all linked to that thing. The auras don't stack, so we're not going to have 3 copies of the aura. But if one dies, the other 2 still have it. It respawns 4 seconds later. Unless you annihilate all of them all at once.
Aren't
Should
they
be
going
fine,
to die
right?
at the same time mostly?
Maybe, yeah.
I think it'll be okay.
It's the Animate Guardian with Mask of the Stitch Demon is what you see here, where it's stable. And that is definitely doable.
Oh, yeah.
But that's going to make that Mask of the Stitch Demon really expensive. It's going to be this league's Slave Driver's Hand. If you remember back when What's-His-Face, Seismic Trap was the meta boss killing skill everyone was using. And Slave Driver's Hand was like, how much was it then? 8-10 Divines? Or, sorry, 8-10 Exalts.
Right. And an actual minion build, would you actually replace support gems with this? If you had like a minion damage setup, you just...
If we can keep the Animate Guardian alive, which I think I can, then yes.
Yeah. Animate Guardian loves this here.
Yeah. But it'll be... I mean, it's not going to be an easy task to keep the Animate Guardian alive with that on. I think that is going to be something we change the build to invest into.
Yeah. And you're also not going to be able to do Cirrus, let alone Uber Cirrus.
No, that was already super dangerous. To add that degen on top, you're almost guaranteeing deaths for the Animate Guardian in Ubers if you do that.
Oh, even regular Cirrus, I think, is going to be sketchy
Maybe.
on that character.
Oh yeah, I see the 3D art for the Mask of the Stitch Demon already. Yeah, is there maybe merit to like doing it on a minion that has a little bit less base life? I mean, animate guardians are known for having huge life pools, but if you did like something that's really like low HP and then you're running some flat region vitality aura or something like that on top of that to keep it alive.
The other one I've seen that's worth it, looks worth it, is Holy Relic.
Yeah, Holy Relic.
Hmm.
But for example,
Other than that, those are the two. I wouldn't. I'm not really that keen for anything other than those. There might be
Payoff
other
is
stuff.
there. It's giving you 30% aura effect. Was it 32?
32, yeah. Which is pretty big.
It's top row, second from the right, I think.
oh sorry, I was already looking at the second from the right. What do you want to say?
Oh, third from the right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, third.
Guardians. Oh, okay.
32. So obviously determination double dips with that stat. So does hatred. So does grace.
Yeah, that's really strong that it's so much increased effect at level 20. Is that part from the quality though? Probably quality bonus at level.
I don't know.
Yep.
I wonder how much it is. Like whether it's like actually 12% increased effect at level 20 and 20% for the 20 quality. It's like 1% increased effect per quality, because then you already have a lot of that increase during leveling.
They don't make quality effects that strong anymore normally.
So you think it's like 0.5%?
I feel like it could be 27% with 1% per 4 quality. It could be
right, yeah.
with 1% per 2 quality. It could be
Yeah.
it could be 15.3%, but minus 0.05% per quality.
Fair enough.
This could have interesting alt qualities too.
Right. So we went over all the strength ones, I believe. Sadism. Do you see any use case for that? That's the one that makes deal damage faster with damaging ailments, but also reduces the duration of ailments, or it's a less multiplier to the duration of ailments inflicted with the supported skills. So you have faster, which already reduces the duration, and then it's already less duration multiplier on top of that. So you have like super short ailments.
Faster doesn't reduce the duration.
What?
Faster ailments doesn't reduce the duration.
Of course it does. That's the entire point.
Nope.
Wait, I thought when you have a 4-second base ignite and it deals damage faster, then it deals the same amount of total damage, but over a shorter duration.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I was 100% positive about that.
Is it?
If you're doing 50,000 damage bleed over 5 seconds, then sadism, instead of doing 10,000 damage per second for 5 seconds, sadism support causes you to do 17,900 damage per second for about 5/9 of 1 second. That's my understanding of this gen.
No, the sadism support does. But normal, faster ailments, doesn't that just make your DPS better? I don't build ailment builds. I build like hit builds. I never build damage over time. But I was under the impression it just made the damage.
Same amount of total damage, but compressed into a smaller amount of time, which is more DPS. But
aside for poisons,
except for poisons, yeah,
because they stack infinitely.
Yeah.
But ironically, the only use of this I've seen is a meme poison setup using Sakawal's tornadoes and a whole bunch of stacking the cluster jewel. It's 300% increased damage, poison damage on unpoisoned enemies, and using sadism because it gets the poison duration under 250 milliseconds.
Jesus,
it's a meme. It's a meme.
We almost become hit-based.
Wait, what's the benefit of having poison duration below 250 milliseconds?
Well, you
because
can
the next tick of tornado then applies a new poison, which will get all of those low tolerance enhanced cluster jewels. It'll have like 1800% increased poison damage because you guys are going to be stacking 6 of those.
Very mean.
I've been trying to talk them out of league starting it, but
that's pretty clever though. I mean, like if there is a way for you to get your poison duration to below your attack time, then you could technically literally leverage the mastery and the clusters to be actually completely insane, to be honest, because the mastery is 300% increased.
Yeah, And the cost is the same.
And yeah, so
And now-
I think that could be broken, but I don't know if you can get it to where it lasts shorter than your attack time. But you've literally just planted a seed in my head, and I hate you.
Just
now
build
I'm
something with
thinking
really
about
long
that.
attack time.
Because I generally don't play dot builds other than like Poisonous or S, which doesn't count. It's a minion build. But I never play dot builds because I hate having to wait.
Yeah.
So I don't like playing Ignite or Bleed normally. But if you can do that, if that's possible.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking for Ignite builds. Honestly, like it's just something that reapplies Ignite so fast that you have to. I mean, and you can't stack Ignites. That you benefit from dealing your entire Ignite damage in a shorter duration.
And Alchemist Mark would finally make sense.
I don't have the time to be looking into new build archetypes I've never played before. One day before League launch, guys. What the fuck? I don't have time for this. What do you mean?
Isn't that the fun though? Like we can just ruin Baylor's league start by making him decide that he wants to play something completely untested and weird.
But
Oh,
even
wouldn't
on
be
the
the
build that
first
benefits from it, dude. Like,
Don't think the upside's enough on this. For the
the
amount of
upside
hoops
doesn't
you gotta
outweigh the downside of like just 80% less duration, which is straight up 80% less damage, also, right?
No, not on Ignites.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not when you're not when
But
you're
on
overriding.
Poisons, yeah. On Poisons, it's like it would be really hard to justify, right? It's like meme territory. But I think maybe like the mastering stuff could offset that. It could, because Poisons are like super starved on increases. So who knows?
What I'm saying is, if this would all be faster and not also less duration, then maybe it would be better. But seeing that this is a support gem and it competes with support gems that are actual more multipliers, like for the overall damage output.
I mean, the trend amongst all of these is that none of them are gems that you just slot.
yeah,
And that's it.
Yeah,
They
no,
definitely
The trend
think
of all
around
of
the
these
corner
is like
kind of thing.
every single gem is something that you have to build around or think about in one way or another.
but a lot of them are worth it too. Well, a lot of them have good numbers.
Yeah.
Except
Aside
for
for
Devour.
sacrifice one or whatever the hell that is.
Sacrifice. You're talking
Sacrifice
about
is the one
the
that
consume
works
one.
like the
this
chaos
one. The numbers
that
on
eats
this are
your
good.
life.
No, the other one I meant like the one that just
You meant Devour that I hover.
Devour.
Oh yeah, Devour. Yeah. It's I'm glad to see Baylor Mage actually in our pre-show discussion actually came up with a legit use for this. It's a corner case, but it's a use.
It's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah,
Like Necromancer.
I couldn't think of one.
No, the color in an MF group and have infinite recovery.
Like
That's
recovering.
all
mana.
I've got.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Well, I could think of like was it Mistress of Corpse Pact.
Yeah,
2% increased attack and cast speed for each corpse you've consumed recently, up to 200%. But that's basically it.
there's just better ways to trigger that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's the thing with this. It's just I feel like this is a gem that if it had a generic 28% more damage, it would still be marginal.
It's true. On kill stuff is like garbage. Like it's not good. It's just not. It's
Like
unfortunate.
it bricks your mana recovery when you're fighting a boss.
Yeah.
Which is probably the time that you're under the most mana strain. And I might have been interested, like if the 40 was 375, then you might have seen this having a use as a like on a non-bossing Archmage setup. But doesn't even
Archmage
solve
setups.
Archmages.
KW. Yeah. Maybe they'll change it in the future. Who knows? If it doesn't see any use, guys, just don't use it, and it will be buffed next patch. Trust.
Surely, just like every other skill gem, right?
A lot of them have been. A lot of them do get buffed. It's like
It's true.
remember there was this rubbish tier gem called Seismic Trap for a long period, and then they decided, let's make this a little bit better. And they sort of got it to the point that it was playable. Then they giga buffed it beyond that. And
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think they need to do more of that though.
So the other one that we just mentioned, And yeah, I'm in favor of buffing vastly underused gems like I don't know, Ground Slam or any of the beach melee skills. Right, would be awesome to make them playable, make them so that you want to level through the campaign with them. But yeah, the other one we just mentioned, sacrifice support. That one has better numbers, right? This could be useful. 20% of your current life when cast to gain added chaos damage equal to 44% of sacrificed life.
So run the numbers on this so you don't have to. It is equivalent to level 29 added chaos damage if your present life pool is 5,400. So that's the Covenant's level 29 added chaos.
That's a pretty meaningful amount of damage.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know what skills they would use that with yet.
It's also very hard to deal with because you've got to stay at full. You've got to stay at a high amount of your current life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it sacrifices current life, so you don't want diminishing returns.
The default is you'd want to use it with orb skills that hang around for a long time, which is specifically why they're excluded.
Or hangs around. We don't know the exact interaction there.
Like it definitely doesn't snapshot, right?
Does it not?
I think if you like cast it again, it's just gonna take whatever your last cast was.
Yeah, so the way I think you would do it is if you build up a few blade vortexes, then you pop a life flask to full life, then you cast your sacrifice one. That probably works. You have to test how exactly it works with Wrathpinth, but Wrathpinth has different text. It sacrifices a percentage of your max life instead of your current. But you could probably get a bit of a sense as to how this works with Wrathpinth.
Yeah. I mean, I would just see this being really good with if you're just like a poison BB build and you want to get like just chuck a vitality watchers on for life gain on hit. And then you're pretty much good. 7.5 hits per second. I think the vitality watchers is up to 50 life per hit. So
but that's only 350 life per second. You're
on a single target.
You're going to be guzzling down 1,000 every time you cast your BV with this.
But you don't have so much skill effect duration on poison builds that you don't really necessarily have to cast it every second, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I could see this being good. Or if you play it on like champion and then you trigger adrenaline with it, like automatically.
Oh yeah. But then you're trying to scale chaos damage hits from the south.
Champion Blade Vortex it is.
Champion BB, yeah, it could be a thing. I mean, like unironically, who knows?
I mean, champion can do anything.
Why not?
Right?
Yeah, it can literally do everything.
All right. Yeah, so maybe I think we touched on everything, and we're also running super long. We still want to talk a little bit about our league starters, but maybe fresh meat. Has anyone found a use case for that? Obviously, you need like really long duration minions for that in order to get to the maximum of 10 seconds. Because you only get Awakened Fury and Adrenaline for 10% of their duration. But I feel like animated weapons, it would be wasted on. The best use case that I personally saw so far was skeletons, because you summon multiple skeletons at once, and I think they have a base duration of 20 seconds. So it's fairly easy to get them up to like 50, 60.
So the issue there is that skeletons have a period where they are basically on strike when they're summoned.
Right.
They don't. They take a little bit of time to get rolling. It's only like it's not like I would need to measure. Like you'd need to do a frame count on this. Measure the time between you casting it to the time that the skeleton appears to the time that the skeleton makes its first swing or spell cast or bow attack. But I don't think it's as fast as people believe it is.
Well, with adrenaline, it's a little bit faster. Yeah, you're right. It definitely takes a while for even if it's not skeletons, like even SRS or animated weapons or something like that, they take a while from being summoned to actually being in the place and then starting to attack and dealing damage.
And so there's I think this is going to be one of those gems that's going to be amazing in Path of Building and less amazing in the real game.
To be fair, though, skeletons you can sort of target, right? You can spawn them right next to the enemy, whereas actually you can with weapons as well.
Very close to the enemy.
Yeah. Well, probably worth trying.
I basically want that buff to last 6 seconds before I think it will be worth using. So if I can't get my minion duration up to, what is that? That makes it a whole minute?
Yeah, 60 seconds.
Yeah. If I can't get it up to a minute, then I think my answer will be no. And if I can
How
get
do you
it up
arrive
to a
at
minute,
that number?
let me look
6
at it.
seconds?
Because most of the time we lose about 1 second to summoning the minion before it goes. Then we also lose travel time, which I'm gonna. On top of that, now we're competing with if it's 6 seconds, we're now still only getting 4.5. So it now has to compete with a real support gem, but with only 4.5 seconds worth of it being useful. And so basically, rough guess based on that.
Yeah, you also want to consider this with enduring minions that are easily resummoned. And again, the golem case comes up. If there's a combat golem build, then this probably has a use case there. Because I don't feel there is a combat golem build at the moment.
Wait.
Like, if the duration is infinite, then it's 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Like 10% of infinite.
Oh yeah. I was gonna,
is
but
infinite
they
cap.
I suppose they clarified that in like Twitter replies or something. It's not
I don't know
obvious.
if it's been explicitly stated, but it says support skills that can create minions, so it doesn't.
Yeah,
specify
it doesn't
duration.
require a duration. You're right.
And 10% of infinity capped at 10 seconds is 10 seconds because the cap.
I find myself in complete agreement with that assessment.
If that doesn't work, then it's a brick gem.
Definitely interesting how we're all like not really super sure about these, and how we're all saying we with most of them we got to try them and see in the game.
Yeah,
it's definitely a trend. I feel like they're obviously trying to combat people figuring out the game in Path of Building completely and then like not playing the build when they know it's shit, but rather like having people play the build to find out its true strength.
That will come up when we're talking league starters.
To be fair,
Well,
I have made a ton of builds in the past that I knew was shit before I started and never me.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see myself in that as well. But yeah, having said all that, what is your starter? You guys want to go first? I don't have a lot about my starter. I'll just go first. Then you guys can tell me all the amazing starters. I'll just tell you what you shouldn't do. And that is I experimented a little bit with a Reap fire conversion on the old chieftain. And now I'm like, a new chieftain is kind of bad. So I'm going to not ascend into chieftain, but I'm going to ascend into juggernaut. And then when I tested it, I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. Like, you can actually level with spectral throw, volley, chance to bleed really easily on Marauder. It sounds bad, but it's much better than it sounds.
Yeah, spectral throw is really good now.
Yeah, early on especially. And then I transitioned into Reap around like level 50, 60, and it wasn't as good. So what I'm planning to do is I probably transition into Armor Brand Cremation in Act 6 with the chieftain, with the juggernaut, and then just stay that until I get into maps and then turn into Reap. And then ultra endgame, I would do Blade Vortex probably. I'm just worried that Blade Vortex is already better than Reap or early on. Just directly do Blade Vortex.
Just real quick, don't you convert to Armageddon Brand in like Act 3?
Not as a Marauder, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you
I don't
can't buy
know.
the gem.
You don't get to buy it. Right.
Yeah, you need to buy like a whole bunch of stuff. Sure, I could like coordinate with guilds and mates and stuff like that. But honestly, Spectral Throw leveling is fine until the end of Act 5. Completely.
No. I've dismissed Spectral Throw for a long time because it was...
Same.
Yeah. What was it that changed?
Basically made it hit additional times within its like little... Like it hits, if it was to hit 2 times, it hits 3 times basically. It's like 33% more damage per, depending on like the projectile speed. Last league?
That's why I keep seeing people using it all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's like now one of the better. It's like the spectral throw, basically taking spectral throw's place. Not spectral throw, spectral helix. Sorry.
Helix.
Yeah,
I hated Helix. I just
Yes,
hated that skill.
it felt so clunky.
Yeah.
Helix could have been such a good skill if like they actually made it work like Hammer did.
Oh yeah, that would have been really cool.
Well, I
What was
guess
the-
I'm not really sure what Hammer did I'm referencing, but like the one in Last Epoch. That's what I'm thinking. That follows you
no.
around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
follow me.
People,
That's the important
people would
bit.
argue
Follow
that's like
me.
that's PV, but totally different scaling and stuff, right?
I feel like in D2 it was a. No, it's so long since I played that.
I'm pretty sure
I
it's
played
exactly
that
like it
Last
was in
Epoch
D2.
too.
Like D2 didn't follow you around. So
Mm.
aside for the fact that in D2 it wouldn't bounce around, it would just disappear when it hit a boundary. But I'm not exactly sure.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my only worry about Reap is, or my big worry about Reap is, A, it doesn't feel good if you don't already have a lot of cast speed. So it's like something, yeah, I wouldn't want to do it pre-maps again because it just takes a lot of time to get that cast speed. So it really feels good also with Echo. And then also, I don't know whether you guys played it before, but similar to like Sweep, I believe, or like a Cleave, it has like this dead spot where like it's like a scythe that swipes in front of you basically, and you can target it. It's like not melee range. You can like cast it at the edge of the screen, but it does seem to have like a dead spot in the middle of the scythe, right? And it just feels a little bit clunky when you're aiming at things and you're not hitting them. But other than that, I mean, it does really hit hard. It's one of those skills that feels really good thematically, especially on a big boy marauder. So I'd like that. But now that I heard the elementalist tech that Bello talked about with the Guardian's Blessing support and the golems, maybe I'll just do the exact same thing, but on elementalist for League Start. Why not?
You could also
But-
run Inquisitor or Guardian for that matter for Rape. Like Guardian. feels
Guardian
like-
for Reap.
Some elemental relics seem to have a bit. Like you got Hatred, you've got Wrath. You're a spellcaster, so you got Wrath, you got Anger. You're benefiting from all of them.
Yeah, I'd have to build it differently then. But
You have
yeah,
to-
I'm doing Avatar of Fire full fire conversion on the plan that I have. But yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fire conversion.
Right. So your plans are solidified as well. You already talked about them a little bit, Sirgog, right? You wanted to do your Earthbreaker, not Earthbreaker, Flamewood stuff.
No, when I saw the new Chieftain, I was like, okay, I don't think this is as bad as everyone else thinks it is because of Ramako Sun's Light, which is the conditional fire dots, the resist suppressor for fire dot. So this overwrites a monster's resistance to 0. Now, most people assess how much damage you're doing against a monster like the Maven, that I would term a medium fire resist opponent. And against the Maven, Ramako is much worse than Juggernaut-style resist suppression is. So Juggernaut-style resist suppression is Wave of Conviction, it's indirect Scorch from the boots, and it's at least flammability, ultimately anomalous flammability, and superior elemental weakness pen. So with all of that package, the Juggernaut gets the Maven's fire resist down to about -50. In this case, Ramako is net negative. However, the thing you fight more is Giga Tanky Rares these days, and they can often have 200% fire res. The Juggernaut comes along to a 200% fire res monster, goes through all the motions of casting all these curses, and then still ends up going, oh, this is taking forever. Whereas the Chieftain's just going to stand up next to it and go, oh, was that tanky? So essentially, it's a Righteous Fire take that is going to sacrifice a whole bunch of Pinnacle Boss DPS in order to be better against the tankiest of rare monsters. You've still got a curse. You've still got punishment, which is quite a good curse. It's inferior to the 2 that a Juggernaut would use on a Juggernaut, but it is still fine. And you've also got, just this more stable damage. Now, because you're a Chieftain, you're going to be using Searing Bond instead of or potentially supplementing Fire Trap. And I'm just going to start with Flamewood because, why not? It's new. But I'm probably going to drop that. At least once Empower 4 comes online, I will definitely be dropping it then and going all in on Searing Bond in a 6-link, or going a 5-link with a double 5-link with Searing Bond and Fire Trap, because they use the same support gems, with the exception of one of the better ones for Fire Trap. The best of the Fire Trap ones actually isn't useful for Searing Bond. That's Trap and Mine support. But that's my current plans, and I've got to sort of think I've still got to do some more brainstorming on it. In terms of overall power, I'm expecting it to be to probably be slightly weaker than the Juggernaut version, but to have unique strengths where it so there'll be some environments where it's better than the Juggernaut, and there'll be plenty of environments where it's worse. But it's new, it's fresh, it's new, it's something different.
Sounds good. I mean, I for once applaud that you try it out, so we don't have to.
Right?
Fall into the noob trap, so the noobs don't have to.
And Chieftain is dead for your purposes, though. Like the fire conversion builds, it lost all of its support.
I could squeeze and force it into Chieftain, but the Juggernaut benefits are just so massive. Like having those endurance charges take care of your resistances early, so you don't need that much on gear because they're permanently up for the most part. I mean, sure, I wouldn't do it in hardcore, but in softcore trade, that's going to be more than fine. And then obviously the cannot be slowed below base damage from the unstoppable. And of course, the huge area of effect from the endurance charge stacking as well. That's going to be very helpful, regardless of whether I do Reap or I stay with Armor Brand Cremation for longer, or I go into Blade Vortex. I mean, they all benefit from big AoE stuff. Gonna be great. Looking forward to it. And then obviously being sort of tanky and all kinds of threatening new content. I mean, we don't know yet, but I suspect that Trial of the Ancestors, seeing that you can't actually die there, but you can only lose the matches, right? Like by having your character go down. I suppose that it's on the Rippy side of things. It's probably going to knock you down rather quickly. But I don't know. We'll see. But I like going in with something that's maybe not super high damage potential, but I can get a couple of millions single target DPS in the first week, no problem, and the character will stand, hopefully, for a long time before going down. What was your plan for a League Start, Tuna?
I did want to say that I think Flame Wood is going to be like cracked in terms of damage numbers, but clunky wise, that's something that you'll probably have to solve. But I do think this is a cool idea, and I appreciate Sirgog testing it for the boys. I almost feel like it could be like as good as the current Totem Explode in Crucible. But yeah, I'm gonna be starting Lightning Arrow just because I want to go fast. So that's pretty.
Oh, I thought maybe the Rain of Arrows that we were talking about.
Well, yeah, I play Rain of Arrows in the campaign, and then I just swap the Lightning Arrow.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rain of Arrows very nice for campaign.
Yeah, it's good. And you get the additional projectiles like a little later. You get Endless Munition, which is +2 proj on Deadeye, and then you just swap the Lightning Arrow and you're good to go.
Yep.
So it'll be pretty good. We're
doing exactly the same thing, although I've been tempted by a Tornado Shot Ballista build.
Which is good.
Also, but ballistas, like exclusively.
I could see that being good as well. You know, I did a run.
Actually looks pretty good.
I did an Exarchita run with TS and basically got to him on 4-link, and it was fine. It took like 1 hour longer than in LA, but people think TS is bad. Like early, they're like, "Oh, you need this much to invest. You need a mirror to your bow." It's like those days are over, man. Like bows are completely out of control right now. Like even after like Vengeance Cascade, they're just still cracked. Like it's bows has been like, "Oh, we're just gonna add Precise Commander. Oh, we're gonna add 30% on top of bow bases. We're also going to give you 2 projectiles on the bow, 1 on the quiver. We're also going to give you 2 projectiles on the tree." And it's like in all of these things now, it's like, okay, well, like now they're just completely cracked. Like in early game,
the 2 on the tree that pushed it over for me.
That's
where it went from like, this is good enough that I'm playing it and really enjoying it, but also bows are like pretty niche. And if you're not really excited, don't do it. There are other options. But and then they put the 2 on the tree, and now it's like, yeah, no, everyone play.
Also Trinity, they added Trinity, and then they also added the mastery that inverts 25% of the time. It's like, okay, dude. And if you want to like also like do expedition or something like that, they now also added a mastery that makes monsters unable to block your attacks. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Just
It
so many
just
things have
keeps getting
compiled over
better.
time that bows are just insane now. Like for early
Yep.
game, right? End game, they're
Wait,
pretty like similar to where they were. They're stronger, of course,
Yeah.
but
They're a
early
little
game is like,
stronger, but not like ridiculously so. But
Yeah.
you can get there now. It used to be a struggle and a half to get there, so that only degenerate no lives did it. Now everyone can do it. It's great.
exactly.
I do think that Black Star will be a major hurdle for a lot of people. Like you'll probably need a service if you're not experienced with the fight. Tuna won't, but I don't think a lot of people that start bows will need help with Black Star. Then they'll need help with all 4 Voidstone bosses.
The single target is honestly like really, really good. I think if I can do it on a 5-link, if so, or people have a 6-link by then, they'll just one-shot it.
Yeah,
Because artillery ballista is just insane.
artillery ballista does so much damage. It really
Yeah.
does just carry the single target well enough. Like I wouldn't suggest you go like uber farming or whatnot.
Yeah, definitely.
But at the
not.
bare minimum, I think pretty much everyone will be able to get their own first 2 watchstones. Like those 2, everyone could do that. If you've never played bows before, you'll still be able to do that.
I honestly agree. Like after seeing just how strong it is on a 4-link, like I think I can comfortably say that like if you have a tabula by then, everything will just get one shot.
Oh, we need. Speaking of Tabula, let's talk about that at some point. People still farm Tabula at the start of the league after the
Right.
race.
Not in Blood Aqueducts.
Even in maps, go change the bind. It's got a higher drop rate by far. Double the drop rate of humility.
Yeah. Change that binds are so much better. It's true.
Yeah.
Also, just don't farm that stuff at all.
Yeah, that's where I am. How about
You
always
the
pay for it.
entire
Yeah.
thing? What do you mean?
If you're not an SSF here, it's probably better. I mean, unless you're one of the fastest people in the world, but like even then, there's probably better ways, and you can just buy it.
Yeah.
But like, especially if you're someone who gets into maps by the end of day 1 or maybe day 2, then you could probably buy a 6-link for a handful of chaos.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
there's still 30 on. There's still 30 on day 1.
99% of the time, I would rather have a 5-link rare than a 6-link tabula.
I think the mastery now helps a little bit with the 15%.
That's so funny though, because I know that like years ago I said this on this podcast when Don the Crown was here, and both Balor and Don ridiculed me for that sentiment that I'd rather use a 5-link than a tabula.
It turns out the game changed over the course of many years.
yeah, I get that. It's just so funny.
Yeah,
It's
base
funny.
defenses are very
There's
good.
2 more mods now on it. Like even if you're not going to be putting good Icors and Embers on it, but you're just going to throw one on it anyway and roll over anything that does absolutely nothing. And so now you've got 2 more mods as well.
Yeah.
And the 315 made the 6th link less impactful than it used to be.
True.
Can you guys still hear and see me fine?
Here, yes, see, no. You're static.
Yeah, you're frozen
Anyway.
on stream.
Yeah, there's some. I tried to pull the browser window to another
There we
screen,
go.
and oh
Frozen
yeah,
again.
now it pops up. Yeah, I think
it's
it's catching up. Yeah, the hardware is outdated, guys. We're soon gonna get some upgrades. We're looking into that. Any other go-to builds that you would recommend for new players trying to hop into the game? Stay away from melee, basically, unless you're doing Bone Shatter.
Bone Shatter is really good.
Bone Shatter or Frostblades are fine.
That Hex Blast Mine build that's been going around looks actually quite nice.
That's really good.
That
a good
looks
build,
that
yeah.
looks real good.
Once
love
you have
the
appropriate
history of-
proxy, it blasts.
I'm too attached to bows to start anything except bows, but it looks pretty good.
I love the history of the Hexblast Miner, how at the end of 320, there were a few people in the English language speaking Path of Exile community that were thinking, oh yeah, this is one of many good choices for builds. And a lot of people weren't thinking about it at all. But apparently the entire Korean language community were as set on that being the best league starter as like those of you that played in 3.7 were aware that like the entire Path of Exile community knew Cyclone was the best build then. It was that homogenous, apparently, amongst Korean language players So 321 League Start comes around, and you start seeing like this huge demand for Kaum's Heart, this huge demand for Wrathpinth Globe, Dissolution of the Flesh, and it's always a Korean language player buying it. And it's because of just the differences, the regional differences in what content creators were promoting and what people were interested in. But now it's much more known about, and I expect that this will be a league where Kaum's Heart and Wrathpinth especially, it doesn't have 2 div cards like Kaum's does, and they're both the same rarity, they're going to be expensive items.
Been a long time since I haven't hidden Kaum's Heart on my filter. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Even the div card should be sextant tier.
Okay. That's
And
a bold prediction.
The item itself, I don't know what you generally put your half divines at, but I'm sort of expecting Kaum's Heart to sit half a divine for a lot of this league, and that puts the div card around like 1.5, 2 sextants.
Who prices them? Oh man, the idea that people price stuff on sextants still drives me mad. Could everyone just stop doing that? Just price shit in chaos.
It's because mappers are net consumers of sextants often, whereas you're probably not a net consumer of chaos. So you end up, if you get chaos, you then trade them away. You're not getting them because you want to use them.
Chaos are just sextants with extra steps, dude.
Yeah.
Right, and I don't want to spend my sextants buying your things. So stop selling it in sextants.
They have fixed the major issue that caused it to be an economic advantage to list things in sextants. Hopefully, it'll just be people listing their own preference.
Yeah, and it looks like we can now choose only show divine and chaos.
Yeah, there's an option.
Which will just be permanently selected for me. If you're selling stuff in sextants, I'm just not buying it. I'll never see it.
Yeah. I just also felt like the intended purpose of that was like a flipping, right? They're just basically flipping on you because the sextant price is always going to be way more expensive than the chaos price.
Yeah.
But it will show up ahead of everything else, just the way the trade website worked.
So there was an issue where that was happening a lot of 321. That was fixed about the point that sextants passed 6.3 last league. 6.3 to the chaos. So that's no longer really the case. I don't expect that it'll be flippers doing it, but I do think a lot of mappers will because it's the consumable you care the most about.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, I wish I could list things in scarabs. You'd put things up in expedition scarabs. Be like the perfect thing. People want to come to me. I'll always cut you a deal if you're gonna dump a bunch of polished expedition scarabs on me.
I'll try and keep that in mind when I see.
You can have 10% off whatever you want if you're willing to do that.
Right. Yeah. So we've already spent a whole lot of time. I don't want to keep you from your league start preparations much longer. Is there anything that you guys still want to talk about? I figure we're going to keep the discussion of Atlas passive strats for the first week into the league when we've all experimented with the tree a little bit more. Seems like needless to squeeze that in after we've already talked so much about the builds and the strategies that we're going for and some of the new passive keystones on the Atlas tree and put them into context. I think we've said most interesting things that we can say about the tree, at least most of them that are specific to this league. I mean, as always, it's a great thing to spec into Essence early on and just juice that stuff. Low investment, high return. Everyone wants essences. Everyone needs them.
I'm just so sick of essences. I'm not running them this league. I'm
done. Good. More return for those who are.
Yep.
I think you're not the only one. I'm also fed up with them, and I'm probably not going to run it because at this time I'm not playing animate weapon or like any other build that's good with like single target. This time I'm playing something for clear, and essences is not going to be great for me.
I'm going to try Wandering Path progression for the first time ever. I've never tried it before, but it looks pretty good.
Wait, right away from the start, or is it something you spec into later?
Rush straight for Wandering Path.
The fastest way to get your 2 void stones.
Yep. It looks quite good. I've never done it before, but it looks quite good.
Yeah, just be aware it will probably set you back a little bit in terms of your other progress that you're making simultaneously while you're working on your void stones. But I think as an overall package, like it's fine. It's very good.
Yeah. It's just the benefit of gaining access to altars and building up a
Altars
map
and 2
base.
watchstones like immediately.
Yeah, building up a map base is going to be super easy with two additional watchstones. That's the main bonus there for sure.
Yeah,
Right.
there's also there's a lot of cool new stuff on the Atlas as well. I feel like this is going to feel, the Atlas is going to feel very different this league because of the new stuff. I'm going to work out my Atlas plans, but I think I'm going to spec high strong boxes and shrines early on. Fair warning though, if people are thinking of doing shrines in the gull is tier 2 rarity now, maybe even tier 1.
It's very rare, yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping to do.
I can confirm it. Yeah, so it's at least as rare as Chevron's wrappings. It might even be as rare as Arakali's Fang.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm fine with
2 leagues and all of a sudden.
Something that people might find interesting, there is a tiering project that's going on to work out the tiers of all of the uniques in the game. There's a team of people that have looted 24,000 uniques and tracked all of them, and have also picked up a couple of special interactions with a bunch of other mechanics. During that 24,000 uniques, they got lucky. They got 1 Mage Blood. They got 0 of most of the other tier 0s. And they sort of got a little bit less than 1 on average of the tier 1s, about 2 on average of the tier 2s, about 8 on average of the tier 3s, and then something like 50 of the tier 4s and 70 to 80 of the tier 5s. So, fun fact, the most common uniques in the game, like Chevron's Pace, it's still 1 in 500 unique drops.
I'm definitely gonna go budget shrines. I'm gonna invest into Torment early on, because I can't wait to see those juicy tormented spirits buff my character every map.
Torment looks nuts now. Torment looks so much fun. I think I'm gonna have to go with that
Torments looked okay.
Yeah. And that's why I want to use it.
This league.
Yeah, me too.
Right. Great. So, with that all said, any heartfelt advice for our listeners while we close things out? I would say keep your flasks upgraded while leveling. It makes a huge difference, especially if you're new. Like, don't never underestimate the power of your flasks. They're so strong for your life recovery.
Yeah.
This is something I always have to make a point of saying whenever I've talked about things that are good and things that are bad. The number one priority in all games all the time is have fun. If the efficient advice you get from me or other people that sounds miserable and shit, just do the fun thing, even if it's like the worst thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The fun thing always wins. Fun is subjective. We can't tell you how to have fun. We can tell you the better way to make more currency or progress faster. But if you have a miserable time doing it, you'll quit. Always fun first.
That's very useful, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Don't do essence.
Don't do essence?
Don't do essence.
What's the thought process there?
So that's
slap you around real well.
Yeah, ever since the addition of Arch Nemesis modifiers, you can literally come across monsters that beat you, and then you're going to complain about dying. And also the fact that everyone's also going to be doing essences is going to drastically reduce the price of them in early league. And unless you're able to sell tabs and tabs of it at a time and farm them in low tier maps, you're just going to be inefficient in high tier maps farming them unless you're playing like Detonate Dead. But even then, that build will be beaten by certain essences, so you're just better off doing like literally anything else, unless you like being slapped around by essences. Then,
or you like farming.
As Ballard just said, you can do it then.
Yeah, I kind of feel that Tuna's point is just Bale Mage's point made slightly differently. It's like whatever's fun, do it, and that means don't do essence because
Exactly.
yeah,
'Cause
like I
it's
said,
not
I'm
possible, yeah. It's
ever since they
miserable.
made essences as strong as they are now, I've just completely burnt out on them. One little tip that I always recommend is just the first few of your ichors and embers that you get when you're mapping, they're in the regular drop pool or lowest tier ones. You're not going to care about these later. Just slap them on whatever you think is going to last longest, whether it be your gloves, your helmet, your boot, or your chest piece. Slap them on something to get that extra little power boost, because they're easily replaced later when you start caring about them and wanting something better. And it's just 2 free mods on each slot.
Yep, that's true.
like that.
As soon as I drop one, I just right click it instantly every time I get one, because the power increase of a lesser like ember or ichor, when it like rolls well, it's like that's huge. It's like 20% attack damage, mana cost reduction on a helmet or something like.
Or maybe it's really good.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like the opportunity cost is literally 0. Nobody's gonna buy them one at a time, so just use it. And you're not gonna stockpile them to hundreds until like you're fully into like farming T14 plus for like quite a while with pack size and that kind of stuff. So just use it. Make use of your resources. Make yourself stronger. The most important thing in this video game, because the stronger you are, the faster you are, and the faster you are, the more currency you make. That's basically the premise of endgame in PoE.
That's some good advice right there. I end up hoarding way too much as someone who came from SSF and is like always like, oh, there might be a better time to use this. It's like, no, just use it now. Make your experience now as fun, your character as strong, and your returns as good as possible.
Yeah.
So that,
Biggest weakness in my game is I hoard too much.
Dude, I ended the last league with like so many divines in my stash. I don't know how many anymore, but way too many. There should be 0 in my stash. Should all be thrown out for random stuff, gambles.
Well,
yeah. Well, it was a blast. Thank you for taking the time to go over all these things with us and providing context that I probably couldn't have. I mean, Balor is a little bit 5-head himself when it comes to analyzing these teasers, but the amount of cross connections that you guys brought up, great. To all the viewers, also thanks for joining. Definitely check out Tuna on all the pages. If you search for Crouching Tuna, you'll definitely find build guides on a big build guide site that would love some traffic, and that I can wholeheartedly recommend, because Tuna knows what he's writing and saying. And if you follow Tuna, you'll have a good league start, I'm pretty sure. And then, of course, there's also Sirgog with his amazing YouTube channel that always presents interesting mechanic interactions. And you can always learn something new while you crack a beverage, most importantly. And Balor is a Balor. Are you going to make an SOS thing this week again? Seeing that Sanctum is back?
It's got like 30,000 views or something since yesterday.
Wait, you have the guide, but are you going to actually play it yourself? Are you going to make it?
Oh, no. I already did it 2 leagues in a row. I'm starting bows. I missed my bow league start, man. Bows are too much fun.
Yeah, they're good.
Right. Well, anyway, like I said, don't want to keep you guys for too long. This is probably the most overtime we've gone in a while, and that warranted. There was tons of stuff to talk about, and we're gonna have another episode. I do have the time written down somewhere, so I'm gonna stall and make the sentence really, really long while I try to find the countdown timer. And it's going to be 3 hours later than this one. It's going to be, what was this one? This one was 10 p.m. GMT. So the next one is 1 a.m. GMT on Tuesday morning. Well, technically for me, it's Monday night. Obviously, I'm not going to go to bed before that. But Tuesday morning after league start, we're joined by Lighty and Joseph for some first impressions discussion. And hopefully we already can share some great strats for the trial of the ancestors. And until then, have a wonderful time. May your league starts be successful and your drops be plenty. And something with Val Orbs that Sirgog always said.
May your Val Orbs have interesting results.
All right. Bye-bye, guys, and see you next time.
Cheers, guys. Have a good night.